Right, this is something new. I thought I would show what my 2022 was like. There's a lot that goes on in the workshop. I call it a workshop. It's a garage. That I share quite a lot of it on Twitter that people on YouTube don't see, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't even make it to Twitter. But I tend to snap away at everything that I'm working on with my phone, and just to, in case I do want to share it. So I thought I'd share all that with you now and go through it. So here we are, January. My Handtech oscilloscope has arrived. Don't I look happy? I got this because there's a thing that I do called Crispageddon, where I pay myself £150 to not eat crisps, drink Pepsi, or eat sweets for 5 months. That's £30 a month. It's a thing that I do, and I've managed to stop myself eating too much junk food over quite a few years now, starting back at the beginning of the pandemic when I bought myself a nail gun, I think it was, which you could probably see. It's up there somewhere. And I had various things, compressor. It's usually tools for the stuff that I do in and around my hobbies. The most recent one is my new. You can't see it's behind this green basket. It is my new ultrasonic cleaner. But last January, I bought this oscilloscope, a Handtech DSO 2C15, DSO 2C15, yeah, which is lovely. I swapped it for this one. I didn't swap it for this one. I sold this one. This is what I had, and that is a Hitachi, which lots of people have said, get a Hitachi. If you do a search on YouTube for which oscilloscope you should buy, this comes up a lot, a Hitachi, and they are meant to be very well regarded. But if you don't know how to use an oscilloscope, that's not the best place to start. So having an oscilloscope with an auto button is a big boon for me. Anyway, so that was the beginning. The next thing is this is a ZX81 RF modulator replacement. My ZX81 that I'd worked on, the only one I had at the time, had a modulator replacement that I bought, which didn't work very well, and I built this one up. I bought these boards, and it was great. Not much to say about that. The next project here was, I'd already done a batch of these, which I sold on. I passed on to members of the retro community. There's a few knocking about with my logo on them. I actually made. Oh, you can't see it on these ones. Maybe I didn't do that on these ones. I did a batch of red ones with my MFMI logo on them, which is a bit cheeky, really, because it's not my project. But these are ordered from JLC PCB with almost all of the components that you need, all of the chicken feed and a couple of the larger bits, but missing the main IC, the SD card slot, the switches, and the USB port, and some headers, some pin headers as well. And I really enjoyed making those and printing the cartridges, and that was good fun. If anybody, I've still got a few of these boards without the IC, just in this exact condition. If anybody wants one, I've still got some. That was fun. And then, still in January, this is the find what it's called. Retro Atari ST. This is the ASCI2SD project you'll find on GitHub. I'll if you want a link drop me a comment in the down below, not in the description. You can't do that. And I will send you to the GitHub where I got this from. This board here that you can see, the beautiful thing here, was created by Lee Smith from Lee Smith's workshop on his CNC, and it's gorgeous. Very, very difficult to solder to. This board I managed to solder quite well. There's a few bits of ragged solder about, but nothing too bad. A later one didn't go quite so well. I managed to mess that one up in the end, but that was because we were experimenting at the time. This is an unusual way of mounting those pins. I think that this board, the socket was supposed to, or this pin header was supposed to go on the other side of the board, but a little bit confusion of how things were going to be mounted meant that it was the wrong way around. But it works really well this way. In fact, this board still works. I think this is the one I might be using. Yeah, I think I'm using this one as the one that's worked the whole time. It's a lovely thing. And on the other side of it is a blue pill, which is what that is. It's so hard to buy, they are. And here is my crazy cat. She's lovely. She's a princess. Right. Still in January. I made some of these. These are Commodore 64 Mega Switchers. Somebody. Oh no, I had these boards made up through JLC PCB, and then it's one of the first projects that I apart from the Kung Fu Flash that in fact it's probably just after the Kung Fu Flash that I got interested in doing this sort of thing. I just enjoyed building kits of things. It's good fun. Look at those diodes. Look at that diode porn. Now this picture is here for a reason. This marks the start of when what's the date on this one? The 20th of January was when the Specky from Hell arrived in my lap. This is from James McNeil, and I did a 4-part series on this. I'm sure everybody that's looking at channel 2 knows all about that 4-part series. But for those that don't know, it consumed my life for a period of time. I think if one came across my workbench now, I think it would probably head straight for the parts bin. It was a thing. So actually what I'm going to do is this is the Specky from Hell photo album, and we're just going to quickly whip through this and see if there's any. Look at that. No, there isn't. So let's not do that. So there are a few pictures in here of the Specky from Hell. Some really interesting stuff like this. The first time I saw this, why is that not? Is that as high resolution as that goes? That might be. Oh, that's a pre-zoomed in one. So that's the. Oh, is that the original? Cool. That's quite low quality. Yeah, that's better. Maybe that was just blurry. Yeah, there's a few images in this collection that will make your eyes water. Look at that. Missing pads, massive solder blob sitting on top of a missing pad with, I don't know, that looks like a wire going through it. But all of this looks like somebody's braid. They've just left it stuck to the board where they've tried to take stuff out. That's one of the transistors. This is the LM1889 area, the video chip for the ZX Spectrum. And this is probably TR1. That's a transistor next to the LM1899. TR1 and TR2 are at the top or bottom of this. I think up this end. But this is just one of the first things that caught my eye, and I could not believe what I was seeing. But believe it or not, there are no bridges here where there shouldn't be. This is all actually functional. This was part of the board that worked. Worked. I'm going to skip through these because there's quite a few. That one. Wow. Look at that. That's nasty. That's really nasty. Why? That's what that should look like. That bit there. That's why these images are here, because I took a. This is what it should be like, and this is what it actually looks like. Image. In fact, that's the other image. Those two. So yeah, and then this sort of thing, where there's just big thick lumps of solder. Bad picture. And there was underneath them. This is what was underneath. There's nothing there. And some of them had chunks of metal as well. It's a thing that I will never forget. That's the back of the memory, the lower RAM. Not much to say about that. Lots of it was missing. Lots of it was like this bit of a trace here. Some of that caught me out quite badly. I'm not sure if there's a gotcha in this picture. There probably is. Things like that trace there, not actually attached to the via. So I soldered to the via and that wasn't attached. I didn't spot that first time because I thought that this was still attached. And there were a couple of areas that caught me out like that. I learned some valuable lessons. I also this is the first, was it might not have been the first chip I took out, but when I took out this end one, these traces came up, or two traces, I think, maybe one. A trace and a pad came up with it, and I was a bit disappointed, but I think it was weakened from previous abuse. And yeah, there's that. Some of the bodges that went in, but they didn't stay there. It all came out several times. This is the back of that LM189 1889 chip with the chip removed. So how many pads are missing there? That is just, and I didn't lift any of those. They were all gone. They were already gone. And on the top side, there we go. It's just, it was devastation. Someone went in there with just, something too hot. And then the actual chip itself had this bodge wire. So, right, that is that second pin. This is something I'm just seeing for the first time. That was that pin that had the blob on it. And I said that it had, where is it? A wire sticking out. That wire is the other end of, come on. That wire is the other end of that. That's what that is. But it doesn't go anywhere. It just was sitting there underneath. I don't know what were they thinking. Lovely. So many broken chips. So many broken chips. Okay. And then how does that happen? And I've seen it again more recently. Haven't I, Simon? We've got an Amstrad coming up with a similar problem. Right, so look at this. I get many things sent to me. I wish I had time to build all of them, and eventually I'll get round to all of them. This was sent to me by Dan Tutul. Dan. who you can find at Dan Tootill, DANTOOTILL on Twitter. He is a lovely guy, massive Commodore fan. He's done a recent thing where he was involved in a Kickstarter or some crowdfunding project to get the Commodore 64 keys remade. And some of the combinations of colors that have been shown on with that have just been stunning. Yeah, Dan is a lovely guy, and he's such a massive Commodore 64 fan. But he sent me this lot, which is a Pi 1541 kit, in which he sent me all of the bits. There's everything that I need in here to actually build the whole thing, all the LEDs and all the passives and connectors, all the stuff that just a massive pain in the ass to actually put together yourself. Sent all of that to me, including the logic chips, including the screen. I think the only thing I need to do is provide myself with a cable. And he sent me some other bits and pieces as well, fast loaders and a C64 modulator replacement. That's a lovely thing to behold. I will find a use for that eventually. And it looks like he sent me that while I was in the middle of the Specky from Hell, because that's I remember this is the ULA socket from the Specky from Hell. And that was one of the last things that I discovered, because how does that happen? And somebody still thinks that it's okay to solder that back into a board. That doesn't happen while you're soldering it. That happens before you solder it. Something catastrophic happened and they put it back in the board. Just wow, just amazing. So January also brought me a new soldering iron, a Pine Seal. I'm tempted to get the 64. It's an upgrade, which apparently is exactly the same as the old one. My previous iron, this Secure. Can't remember the. No, it doesn't say on there. Oh, it might say no. Zoom. That's not Zoom. I thought it had a model number. So yeah, my previous one, the Secure, was a great little iron, but it just kept crashing. There it is in there. Plus the power lead, it was a USB, I think it was micro USB, and just with the weight of the cable hanging on a micro USB at right angles is not a very sensible thing to do. So that was getting a bit flaky. The Secure has either you can plug USB-C into it, or you can also plug a barrel jack into it. So which is what I've got, and I've got one of the silicon leads from. I'm so sorry if I forget your name. I'm wondering because you sent. Oh, there he is. It's Rob Schmidt at SchmidtHot on Twitter. Saw that I was without a silicon lead, because when you buy a Pine Seal, you buy the silicon USB-C lead at the same time. It's a lovely thing. It's so difficult to buy them elsewhere. I think they're easier to buy now, because you used to have to buy them off the Pine Seal website, and it used to take weeks for things to get here from where I think Pine Seal might be in the States somewhere, and they order stuff from China that gets sent to wherever. So it's a bit of a long-winded process, but I think you can just go on AliExpress and order Pine Seal stuff now. So yeah, my Pine Seal is one of the best tools that I use. Right, so the end of January, the channel was sitting at 700 subscribers. I had just started to take things a bit more seriously. I don't take things seriously. I'm using that as a relative term. Not a serious person. Don't expect serious. You're going to be disappointed if that's what you expect. So that was January. Let's have a look at February brought me an Acorn Electron. I spotted a listing on Facebook Snakebook Marketplace for this. There was a guy selling loads of these. I got chatting to him afterwards, and I think he had like 40 odd of them. He might have had more than that. He still had loads left. He'd bought them up. I don't think he had very much interest in retro at all. He had some other bits and pieces, but I think he was buying stuff that he thought looked like he could make some money on it, which is fair enough. I'm not judging. I'm a bit judgy, but he he was selling them at £40 a piece, and at the time, I didn't really know too much about electrons. This was my first one, so I wasn't aware of the problems that you could have with ULAs. I ordered mine, got it, found that it was mostly all there. That it was missing the modulator, which is a bit of a shame, but it would have been nice if it was complete, but not a problem because I was running it off of composite anyway, or in fact RGB. So it gave a lovely picture. But at the time, I didn't know that the other type of ULA was socketed, and very often they would be stripped out and sold on eBay. So I got mine and shared on Twitter, and James, who sent me the Specky from hell, saw that I got one, asked where I got it from, and I gave him the contact details of the guy, and he bought one, and it came without a ULA, which is just a paperweight. There's nothing. I'm so sorry, James. I feel really bad about that. But them's the breaks. But that was a great fun little fix. That was the RAM had broken, and oh look, wang! The RAM had broken. The ULA needed a reflow on both sides. So on the top side, you can't really see very well on this picture, but a lot of these are cracked. That was a problem. The other problem was this power socket was broken and wasn't giving the full voltage into the board. But it was the first time I'd used the piggyback method, and it worked. It's such a cool thing, seeing it spring to life. That was the next thing I saw. I'd have been taking that picture going, yes! I'm not sure what that is. Why is that? Oh, that's the underneath of the space bar. So that's me showing that's the space bar. And that's me showing that it's not attached properly. So I had to print out some standoffs that go in here. They were missing. And that worked really well as well. A lovely keyboard, really clunky keyboard, agricultural. So these are my old microscope images of the top of the pins of the ULA, and you can see clearly there. They've almost all of them are cracked. That's the listing that I had to try and type in to test the memory, but then I got quite a way into it. Then it crashed. Fixed the problem that was crashing it. I think that was the power lead and the ULA. Came back, started typing it in again, and then was told that that was a BBC program and it probably wouldn't work. That's the power socket. That was broken. That's the new one. And that was the other side, because the board was cracked right across there. You can see the crack running under there. But I reinforced all of that with hot glue. That was the end of that project. Running off of my TZX Duino. Bench looks a bit different. Now that is sand that you can see there, and that is out of the end of my desoldering gun. That just one day I started using it, and as I put it towards whatever I was trying to desolder, sand just started pouring out at the end of it. There we go. It's just literally started pouring out of it. It must be packed in around the barrel to give it some kind of insulation. You know, I don't know what for. But yeah, got that replaced. That is the second version of the I can never remember what this is called. ACSI ACSI 2 STM. I don't know how you're supposed to say that. The Atari ACSI hard drive emulator. That's the second version. So no, this is the one that does continue to work well. That's the one I use now. That we found these pins that you can solder to a board, and the way I did that was to think, oh, do I not show that later? No, I've missed a bit. So I pushed all the pins into the port and then pushed the board onto there and soldered them in place while it was in the back of the Atari. That worked well. To get perfect. Look at that. Look at that alignment. Should we go in closer? That's the old pin header. And that was the new one. New board, old board. But yeah, I did make a bit of a mess of this soldering on this one. You can see where it started to go green because this is just copper and it oxidizes really quickly. Right, so this one wasn't working at the time because I didn't have the right, don't think I had the right micro SD card slot. It's difficult when you've got somebody making parts of something at one end, where Lee was making this stuff in his workshop and I was putting them together here. And he was like, for instance, he would use turn pin headers, and I haven't got anything with turn pin headers. I don't use turn pin headers. So all of my blue pills had normal pins, which did I needed just a normal socket on there. But we got there in the end, and that all worked up to a point. And my new desoldering gun arrived. God, this is going to take a while. And this is about the point where I started really getting into my editing chops with DaVinci Resolve, which is the best video editing software on the planet, as far as I'm concerned. And lovely Matthias Baez, who is just the nicest person in the world. He sent me his Sega Mega Drive and 32X and to be recapped. He wanted a better image quality out of it, so there are a couple of modifications with this cap kit where you have to change some of the surface mounted. Oh, I haven't shown them here. Why have I not shown them? Some of the surface mounted capacitors, some of these little ones, needed to be changed for different values. That was an interesting thing because there's a lot of technology packed into that little mushroom. But that was fun. I enjoyed that, and I also gave his Mega Drive an upgrade, a clean up, and made it look a bit nicer inside. There were a few corroded traces and things. And this arrived, which I still haven't done. That's February. That's arrived. I need to build this before February. I need to actually get this one done. A case from ZX Renew with faceplate and 2 different mats for me to make a new ZX Spectrum from. That'll be a video at some point. Started playing around. This is my old logo that my friend Richard Horsley made for me, who he's just a very creative person who just makes things like this look ridiculously easy. And he just whipped this up for me, and that was my logo while I was building arcade machines and pinball machines, or pinball machine. So wood, pencil, blueprint, invaders, tape measure, and that's where that came from. But you'll see that changes. In fact, this is where that changes. So I want the F I wasn't happy with because I don't use blueprints. So I wanted to make an F out of a circuit board, but instead of taking a picture of a circuit board and then in Photoshop cutting it out, I actually took a circuit board and got my bandsaw and cut the F out. And it actually lives up on my wall above my workbench. So I'll keep that forever. So I took some pictures of different things to make different letters. I can't even remember what I used to make the M's. Maybe one of the M's. What is the new logo? It's right. I think it's still wood. It might still be wood. I don't know. It's still wood. I'm not very observant. Get some Renaissance wax. It's amazing. So yeah, that was the picture quality before, I think. And it's impossible to, because there's camera artifacts all over this. So there was some banding that we managed to get rid of. So that was February. March. This is still the Matthias Bayes's 32X. That took a while to get this type of capacitor. That's a very unusual height to a capacitor, and I had to order those all the way. I had to order them on Mouser, so they came all the way from Texas in a day. But that cost us quite a bit in postage. Well, it cost Matthias a bit of postage, not me. I can't remember whether these are before or after, but but like I say, they don't really make a lot of sense because the camera artifacts really spoil it. Might be better with my current setup, but yeah, look, that's a lovely thing. I'm not sure what's going on there. That doesn't look right. That's my old screen. That's my old bench screen. It's still on the stand at that point. That went bad because that was pumping out 100 volts on its earth rail, on its ground rail. So that was making some things tricky to repair. Yeah, these are the recap. Oh, okay, look, some of the capacitors. So that capacitor had to be changed, and this is a new one. Yeah, that I think that's a polymer capacitor. I just want to eat some of these. I like sweets. But it worked well. And around this time, I got my new microphone, like Yeti. I've been after a Yeti for ages. I've been using a Snowball before then in this massive, great shock mount. And that served me well as well. I still got that. I need to pass that on to somebody who needs better audio quality. That's a good starting microphone. And here we have this is the C64 I got from Leanne. I saw this on a local listing, and she's a collector locally. I'm very into her Commodore 64 stuff, and she sold me this Commodore 64 that had just had a black screen. That was the first Commodore 64 that I repaired. So that was my first C64 repair. That was so much fun to do that one. I had a lot of help from Adam Commodore lad, who pointed me in the right directions. That's not a replacement. That's where I put the SID chip in here while it was being fixed to keep it safe. That was when I built. Dirk Ninja gave me this Sven Peterson Diag 64 cart, and I just happened to have all of the parts that I needed to create a cart. It just blew my mind that I could do that sort of thing. And yeah, so I've got Lee Smith gave me all the test harness as well recently, so I've got the whole set for full diagnostics. And I've also got, who gave me, I think Mike DX gave me the serial plug so that I can test the serial port as well. That's the only thing I was missing. But yeah, this was in a poor old state. I only just realised that that's an R3. That's quite a good one, I think. I don't know. I don't know enough about these. But that was a lovely fix to do. All of the MT RAM out. That's gone in spares bin. It's actually fine to go in for, you know, just like a scratch build Specky, I suppose. I could throw that into for the upper memory. You can use it for the lower memory as well if you do a modification that I've been told. But look, that's not the best picture, but those two are red and those two are green. So that MT RAM is bad. So some of it was bad, but it all came out. This is my Commodore 64, my personal one. So I'll probably end up socketing the whole thing. I won't put ZIF sockets in like the pros do, because I want to be able to use it. And ZIF sockets are a bit unreliable. Is that true? I don't know, actually. They're difficult to put in every position anyway. And I'm all right. I'm happy putting stuff in normal sockets. It's not. I've got a lovely chip puller. Thank you, Munsey Mark. Not chip puller, chip lifter. Chip lifter. Yes, that was good fun. So around this time was when I was putting. So that's trash bag. Trash bag was from earlier, but I can't remember why I had trash bag out at this point. That's not trash bag. Oh no, it is trash bag. Oh right, okay. So I wanted to write trash bag on the inside of it, so I've added it there. But this one is the second video in that series. This is the charity Atari that went amazingly well. That so many people offered some just wonderful stuff to go to the auction, and there is later on. Can we skip forward? No, maybe I missed it. There is I think it was is it £245 it went for, £145. There's a lot of money for what it was. So this is back in the I'd obviously been waiting for parts to arrive. Commodore allowed sent me some memory. The memory worked, but there was still a problem, and I found that the CPU had died as well, so I had to wait for that. I think I took a CPU out of the I had another Commodore 64 before this broken one that I'd bought before, but it was working. I've since sold that on. In fact, I swapped it. You might see that later. So this is the £20 Atari ST-FM. And it is just immaculate. So my theory at the time of why it was so pristine inside and outside was that it was bought late in the Atari life and put in a cupboard and never used. I still think that's kind of true, but I don't think it was late in the life because for one thing, it's an FM, and for another, it's got a really early version of the floppy drive inside it. That's the only blemish on it, is someone drilled a hole for a switcher for the floppy drive for an external floppy to be the master drive. And that external floppy drive is massive and weighty. Definitely murder weapon weight. Inside this thing, I know there's a little bit of grubbiness around here, but there's nowhere at all on this. Somebody really looked after it. What? Where is it? Why, Atari? Why would you do that? Just madness. Power supply in the ST-FM and the floppy drive with this weird controller. That confused me for some time. Yeah, that kept me going for a little bit. There is going to be a little video on this coming up. That is an amazing thing. The Mouster USB to 9-pin adapter that you can plug in practically anything, like Xbox pads and any kind of mouses into practically anything. You can plug it into I think anything from a Spectrum up to an Amiga, an Atari, just all sorts. An incredible piece of kit. I had all sorts of problems trying to get a USB mouse working with my Amiga 1200, and I bought some of the adapters that you find on eBay, the silvery ones. Awful things. I couldn't get. I've got dozens of mice in here. I couldn't get any of them to work. This one will work with all of them. It's just so much better. It's a little bit more money, but if you need something that does that job, just buy that one. Don't hesitate. Just buy that one. Buy 2 of them. It's that good. So we were back to the XCGS ST for the Atari. I was using it with this to test with, and that worked great. But the problem with the Atari STFM 520 STFM is it only has 512k of memory, and many of the games wouldn't work. I did find a few. Tempest was one that I managed to get working so I could test it. But we'll get to the memory in a second. That's the external floppy drive. I was thinking about maybe stripping all this out and the floppy drive and maybe putting a Gotek in there. But then I thought, maybe, I don't know. What I don't like about this is it's not very well made. These connectors here are 240 volt and they're pressed up against this metal block on the transformer. It's not a good look. That's not safe. So actually, no, I'm not sure what to do with this. Using it in its current form is not an option. So maybe an external Gotek. Yeah, I think that's where I landed in the end. I'm going to make an external Gotek out of this somehow, and then I will keep the internal drive because I can't replace it. It's got a different shape to later ones. Back to the Commodore 64, the CPU had arrived, changed the CPU, and many of the MOS chips got desoldered because they're just suspect. That switch actually was a big problem as well. I didn't really show that in the video because I didn't get very good footage of me repairing it. But that switch had to be dismantled, taken apart, cleaned the contacts inside, which were really badly, not corroded, but where they arc, they degraded. But I'm not sure if you can, if the contacts in there are plated or not. But and then therefore cleaning them is only going to be a very temporary solution. So maybe I should pick up a switch or two for that. But they're fun to take apart because all the parts, as soon as you pull these tabs out off the side or bend these tabs away from the side, it all flies out. More of that. Oh, trash bag. That wasn't the actual release one, but did have fun with trash bag. I don't know why that's in here. And this is the XCGS STM, not S2SD. Lee and I'd gone to the trouble of, or Lee went to the trouble of actually creating that board. And then we realized that there were Gerber files on the GitHub with a fully integrated version of it that you could take a blue pill, take off this chip, take off the crystal, and a couple of other components, maybe this bit. But we bought some, like the capacitors and stuff. And from using this and a few other parts, you could build an integrated one that you didn't have to have a separate blue pill and SD card reader on a board. It was all on this board. So we did that. We ordered some of these boards. Lee ordered some of the boards from from PCBWay, and JLC PCB. I'm not sure actually. And he's got a couple, and I think I had a couple, and we shared some blue pills that I'd managed to source. They're getting very difficult to buy now. I might still have a spare, but I built mine up. It worked, and then it didn't work, and I don't know why. And I put it away, and I haven't gone back to it since. I will go back to it, but it's one of those things where I probably should just put the broken one aside and build another one, and make that work, and hope it carries on working. It could be anything. It could be that I've, shorted it out somehow. Look, the Lost Retro Tapes is here. I love my comments that I get from people giving me encouragement on the videos. You are literally shouting into a void when you do these videos, but it's when people shout back, it makes it feel good. It's amazing. So end of February, close to the end of February, I'd picked up 142 subscribers, starting from my 700 at the beginning of January. Oh no, it was the end of January. So that was good progress. I had a good time at the beginning of the year. Oh look, this is the build of that a SCSI 2 STM. I do like doing surface mounted stuff, but this one was a bit of a pain. And that might be what went wrong with it in the end. I might have, there might be a bad joint on here somewhere. I did go through and reflow everything. But yeah, I do enjoy SMD stuff like this. I'm pretty sure I recorded all this as well. So if that ever sees the light of day, some of that footage might get recorded. All right, this is how I did the other one. So I pushed all the pins into the back of the Atari, of a random Atari. This looks like to be my STE. And then pushed the board on there, held it in with blue tack, and then soldered it in place. And then you get perfect alignment. It just makes sense to me. And there we go, SD card in. You program it with the USB port. In fact, I think I programmed the chip on there before, while it was still in the blue pill. That's something that I'm not great at. I'm not good on the software side of things. I tend to get a bit lost. But look, it works. Worked. Missing a chip, that's where it came from. But yeah, I spent a bit of time on that. So the £20 Atari had 512k memory, 512k of MT memory, which apparently is fine. It's not MT memory of the same melts if you sneeze next to it that you get in Commodore 64s. So that did worry me when I saw all of those in there. And note that these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, there are 8-pin chips. Oh, I thought these were. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different project. So I needed 8 more of this type of chip to give me another 512k. And I started looking around and asking around, and lovely Control Alt Race came through and sent me a whole bag of chips that he didn't know. He wasn't sure whether they worked or not. And I had a tester. So I said I would test all of the other ones for him and send them back, and just take the 8 that I needed. The other thing you need to do when you upgrade this memory is add in some resistors and the capacitors at the ends. So these are the capacitors at the end of the chips that were already there. So I needed to add some. What are they? 745 or 2? Well, I don't know. But there was a guide. So the inside of the floppy drive in the Atari ST FM had this mess of a belt. It also had all of these factory bodges on it. Look at that lot down there. And it was something that I don't think it'll ever work. What I'll do eventually is recap it, give it a thorough clean. I did give it a clean and tried to get it working as it was, and it didn't want to work. Put a new belt on it. No dice. Anyway, the chips arrived from Control Alt Reese, and Reese was just the nicest guy. Absolutely lovely man. And I fitted those to my Atari to give me a megabyte of memory. It's about that time that the other XCGS STM that I built stopped working. So that is March. Shall we go on to April? I'm running out of time. April rocks around. Oh, new cable from the Retro Computer Shack. I just love those cables. Oh, I love it when a package arrives. This is my favorite thing. What's in this package? It's a ZX81 in a murder bag. A bit unusual, this one. Had this Canon many pins plug on it. And just the cables hanging out shoved through the side of the case. I love this like retro bodgery is one of my favorite things to find. Seeing that somebody poured hours into, I mean, this must have been their pride and joy at the time. The ZX81 back in, the early 80s, the very early 80s. And they did this, I just love that somebody somewhere has fond memories of doing this and making this work. This looks to be an external keyboard adapter that they pluged together, probably some sort of kit that they could get. But the actual ZX81 itself had something I'd not seen before, which was this daughter board on top of the CPU. That was quite unusual. I didn't know, and I'm not exactly sure what that is. I did look it up at the time, but I forget these things. The ZX81 has 2 footprints for the tiny 1K memory that it can hold different chips. For some reason I thought that was on top of the ULA, but maybe I'm thinking of the Spectrum. That is an 81. Yeah, lovely. Move on quickly. Yeah, there we go. That's just. I think this must be a hand soldered one that somebody. If this is a kit, I reckon. I love the color of the motherboard as well. They're all version 1s. I don't think there are version 2s. I was quite excited when I first saw the inside of a ZX81 and saw it was an issue 1. And I thought, oh, I've got a rare one, but no, they're all issue 1. Lots of room for that heatsink to breathe, not like in the Spectrum. Yeah, and plugged this one in, and it just worked, which is a bit disappointing. In some ways, it's nice to buy something that's untested and it just works. But at that point, I tend to pack it up, put it back in whatever it came in, stick it in a plastic box. They're all there, and barely look at it again. So yeah, new PLAs and processor arrived from Commodore Lad, and I got the Lian C64 working. Takes me a little bit longer back, or it took me a little bit longer back then to fix things. And this is my Commodore Lad built Commodore 64 power supply, which is a fabulous thing. Look at that. He built it into an Amiga 600 power supply. And yeah, that's rock solid. So what are we in March? I've gained some more subscribers. I'm closing in on 1,000. This was sent to me by Sparks and Zeros. He's just another generous supporter of the channel. Really nice guy. He's always been very supportive. He sent me a few things in the past, and he sent me this Master System to see what I can do with. When I get at some point, I'm going to have a splurge on Master Systems and Mega Drives on Sega in general, because they're building up. I've been sent stuff by. I've been sent some things that I need to use because the people have generously sent them to me to use, and I hate the thought that that they're sitting there not being used after someone's generously sent them. So yeah, this will happen. I've got a bunch of Master System 2s, but you'll see those later in the year. And then look, how did I? Oh, so I've gone from 902. It was around this time that Gadget UK, thank you, featured me on his channel on the episode 2 of his Acorn Electron fix, and I got a big boost. I went from 900 to 1,000 subscribers pretty much overnight, it looks like, in a very short space of time. So that was a lovely uptick. And when you get to 1,000 subscribers, you feel like the world is your oyster, but not much changes. The charity Atari went up for sale. That's the bundle there with all the bits. I bought a power supply, a linear power supply, so it's as clean a picture as possible. I included my Atari Uno cart with a SD card with all the games on, plus all of these, some of them box games. It was a beautiful machine. It was immaculate. Such good condition. Really proud of that. Around that time as well, Universal Retro boss Paul contacted me and said, because he'd seen me post a picture of my, it might have been this very picture of my pinball machine, and asked if it was for sale. And we'll get back to that later. So I started poking around again inside it because it was never finished. After I did the series, I had never put the final finishing touches, mostly software touches, to it. It's a pain. Pinball software is just a massive pain, and I like to say I'm not really that into the software side of it. So that was a bind, but I started to look at it, but then I got bored and stopped looking at it again. But like I say, we'll come back to that later in the year. This lot is some Retro BC Pete. Is it? Let me look up his name. Yes, I got it right. Make sure he's the right person. I'm sure it's Retro BC Pete. It might not be him. Let me have a quick look. Oh, no. It was Gamer Tepic Peter. He doesn't seem to be about very much on Twitter anymore, but he's not very active on Twitter. Saw the charity Atari was going up for sale after it had gone on auction, offered a bunch more games, boxed games, and some of them in excellent condition as well, which was super generous. And he drove all the way over here, about an hour away, to drop them off to me. And at the same time, popped open his boot of his car and said, "Oh, do you want this?" And gave me another Atari 2600 to repair with an unusual coloured board in it. I haven't seen that. With a ribbon cable instead of wires connecting the switchboard to the motherboard. But that's waiting to be sorted. We'll get round to it. Ah, look, my Pong machines. I'm a bit obsessed with these. I've definitely bought more of these than I need, but I don't ever pay very much for them. That's what I paid for that one. I didn't. Oh, that's what the. Here we go. This is what the charity Atari bundle went for. £245. I paid the postage, and yeah, I'm just amazed. And I got this message from the guy that ended up buying it. You don't know me from Twitter. I'm just a relatively new Atari 2600 game collector, and I wanted a decent, looked after console to play the games on. I paid a big price because I watched your fantastic video, and I feel as though I can trust the console to be good. Plus, it's for charity, so win-win. Cheers. What a nice guy. Yeah, fantastic. And that was it being sent off. The last I saw of it. Oh, until he messaged me and said it stopped working. Well, a wire had come off inside, but I sorted him out. Ah, my friend James Snorkers. Look at that. I got a fridge magnet and a pin badge. The pin badge lives up on my workbench up there, and the fridge magnet. Well, I'll let you guess where the fridge magnet lives. More Pong stuff came in. Oh, this is the one that I bought for £8 something. I think this is the color one. Is this color one? No, I'm not sure. It is actually. But the first thing you do is look in the battery compartment because these just got put away. I know my family one got put away with batteries in and then got thrown away when it was discovered to have leaked. Just such a shame. So many bit the dust from that way. The other one, this TVG 2600. It was the first one I've got with the gun, and these fancy wireless controllers that actually hide the wire inside. They're not wireless really, but yeah, these are something that I'm not sure what to do with them, but I'm obsessed with collecting them. But yeah, I don't pay very much. I try not to pay more than £10 for each one. But if I see one that I haven't got already, sometimes for less than £10, I'll snap it up. In fact, Paul, Universal Retro Boss, Paul gave me a couple more that are actually in a box near me. So that was April. I'm going to take a quick break now, and I will come back in a minute. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the ad break. If I bothered to put one in, I might have just not bothered. So May, 1,111 subscribers. I do like these pleasing numbers, the milestones. It looks like another Pong machine, this time a color video TV game, Adman Model 3000. So this is the first color one that I had. Unfortunately, this one had some leakages, but it doesn't look like anything too bad. It was probably stored the right way up so that the battery acid leaked into the sponge on the lid. Probably why they put that there. And this one is built like a tank. There's metal bases to the controllers, metal actual knobs on there. Really, really nicely made, this one. But the grandstand was one that I used to see in the Argos. It would have been Argos as well, but Littlewoods and Freeman's catalogues growing up, where you ticked off or you folded over the corner of the page of where you wanted something for Christmas. And this one worked. Look, not a great signal on this flat screen, but it did work. No, I don't think there's a gun with this one. I don't think it had gun games. I'm not sure. I think this one had the port on the back. I haven't got a picture of it. Oh no, there's no gun game on this one. So that was fun. Another kit that I bought were to convert my TL866 programmer so that it could use this, 27 C322s, C4096s, and 400s, and others that came in handy for the Amiga that you'll see later. I had a bit of feedback then. Weird. This was a purchase I regretted. So I needed to go along with the EPROMs for this programmer. I needed a way to erase the EPROMs, and I bought this from eBay. And it was advertised as new, and it turned up. It's a toothbrush sterilizer. So you hang your toothbrushes. Those are meant to be toothbrushes in there, and your toothbrush head, it goes in here and it gets sterilized. And you have a tube of toothpaste plugged into this bit here, and you can dispense your toothpaste, and it's not unhygienic in any kind of way. So I thought I would be able to use this to erase EPROMs. It was a moment of madness, and it turned up in a box that was obviously just been sitting around for ages. It stopped working, and someone decided to send it back. And eBay decided to, or the eBay seller decided to send it to me as new. It's even got toothpaste in it. It stank. It was disgusting. I think there's even hair in there as well, isn't there? Oh, it's horrible. I got my money back. Never fear. So I built the programmer, and I programmed some ROMs. Oh, this was so that James pops up a lot. James McNeil from Specky from Hell needed a ROM for his Amiga 500, which I programmed up for him. And we have another Pong machine. This is one sent to me by Jim Blimey from Super Jim Tembo. No, this one was sent to me by Super Jim Tendo. He also sent me his Spectrum as well, which we'll see later. But this one has sentimental value to him. It's got some historical memories attached to it, and I have said that I will restore it and look after it and make sure that it has a good home, which it has. I haven't done the restoring part of that yet, but I will. This feels like one that was like aimed at more the upmarket with the wood grain. These paddles that clip onto the side, quite neat design, and lovely chrome buttons. Don't forget, this is probably either very early 80s or late 70s. More likely late 70s, I'd say. I wonder if we can see. Oh, look, 77. 1977. That's amazing. And a beautifully made machine, this one. Really, I mean, these single-sided boards always look nice on top. But this one had some... They put some thought into how this was put together. Yeah, that will be put back together, and I'm not sure what's going on there. And the inside of one of the controllers, that's the side of it been taken off just to have a look. There's not a whole lot in there. Maybe I should pour some sand into it. Give it some heft. So the me being me, my apologies. I bought a wireless charging UV sanitizer for my phone that also doubled up as a EEPROM chip eraser, and it works. I think they only cost about £10 something on Amazon. It's Samsung, designed for Samsung. It's got their brand on it. It's like an official licensed product. I'm not sure if that's the right term. It does wirelessly charge your phone. You pop your phone in there, shut the lid, and it starts charging wirelessly. You also press a button on the front, and then UV light spreads out and kills all the bacteria on your phone. Actually works, but it actually works as a chip eraser as well. It's actually good. And it's got a timer. You press the button, only sterilizes for 10 minutes, I think it is. But yeah, so I had to clear out at this point in May. I decided to rearrange all of the games in my WAM boxes. Excuse me, in my WAM boxes. So this is the Sega box. This is another Sega box. This is a PlayStation box, a Nintendo box. These boxes have actually grown since then. I've got so many more. Xbox box. That looks like an Amiga 500 and my Amiga 1200, which is my pride and joy. That's the only one of the only machines I've got from the back in the day. Everything else is a replacement. This one is kind of not a replacement. I did sell my Amiga 1200, but me and my best friend Jason, who I've known since we were 7, owned our Amigas 1200s together, and we'd we'd link them up, we'd cart them round to each other's houses with extra televisions and that's this kind of crazy thing, and play link up games, Lotus Esprit 2, and Stunt Car Racer, and all sorts of things. I forget many of the games that we used to play, but I sadly sold my Amiga thinking I was being clever at the time. I was quite clever, I thought, and buying and putting the money towards a PC. I tended to be the one that jumped in to the computers before Jason, so I'd get an Amiga 500 and convince him to buy one, and then I'd sell the Amiga 500, buy an Amiga 1200, and convince him to buy an Amiga 1200. Jason probably got to PC before me, but he didn't sell his Amiga 1200. He put it in the loft, and it stayed there for a couple of decades at least. And when I started getting into my retro obsession, right at the start, I dragged down what I had out of the loft and decided I wanted to put my collection back together. I wanted to own every machine that I'd ever owned and then sold. I wanted them all back. Well, Jason gave me his Amiga 1200, and this wasn't before they became expensive to buy. This was when they were still expensive. It wasn't that long ago. I know they're ridiculous money now, but they were still a lot of money when he gave it to me, and it was my Christmas present. It's just one of the most amazing things. And the first thing I had recapped, I decided one of the hardest machines to recap was going to be the first thing I gave my efforts to. That could have gone badly, but thankfully it didn't. It went well. These are my Commodore 64s. I've got a Commodore 64 C there, and a bread bin. That's the bread bin with the I think that's the one with the blue. Oh no, that's my. Oh no, that might be a VIC 20. No, that's Commodore 64. That's got the red light. So that's my second one. That's the one I repaired. The one from Leanne. This is VIC 20 with the expansion port, the expansion card on it. It's a big industrial thing with hefty casing on it. That all works perfectly. The output on that is stunning. I have a VIC 20 to repair soon, so that'll be fun. A Nintendo box with my NES. We're going from one of the first to more recent Nintendo. Another Nintendo box. There's all sorts in there. There's a Wii around somewhere, but I think that's at the time that this was done. Sorry, a Wii U. At the time I did this sort out, I think the Wii U was living under my telly in the front room. So Atari 2600s and Atari ST. That was my first Atari. That was, and that's the STFM. Box of Sinclair stuff. Some random stuff. That's the blue light. I've traded that off for I've traded that for a Nintendo Game Boy Advance. And some more Pong machines. Oh, there's my Binatone That's the one I grew up with. This was from my childhood. This belonged to my pop. A Sony Watchman, black and white, CRT. Crazy, insane that you could walk around with a telly in those days. It was mad. And again, this belonged to my pop, and he would appreciate that number. He wasn't a legs man. Oh look, I wonder if that's gonna. It worked. It still worked. There's nothing to play on it until I connected up a NES. There we go. Bit of Super Mario on a Sony Watchman. A bit of one-handed play. Oh, yeah. I'm amazing. And I got a Raspberry Pi 400. I've been after one of these for ages, so I finally cracked and shelled out the money for one. I have to admit, I haven't used it very much since, but I'm still glad I've got it. It has become handy for setting up images for Raspberry Pi 4s. It's quite a useful thing. But of course, I loaded up the Amiga. I can't remember what that's called, but yeah, that was amazing. The Pi Pico project beginning here to convert a 9-pin joystick to USB. And another wonderful supporter of the channel, Arcadesy and friend. You're all friends, but Arcadesy is someone you should all treasure. He's one of the stalwarts of the community. He has helped me with all sorts of things, and he's kept me going with a steady stream of Dandinators right from the first ones to this is still an earlier one. I think this is the one that I gave to Howard at Dubious Engineering, but he sent me this version, which is an all-in-one version. I think that might be my favorite one. The Mini, what's that say? Mini 2.1 Amy. There's a GitHub. If you can search for that, that's probably, I'd say this is probably the best one. I printed a case for that one as well. The one I use, I'm having some problems with it, but to be honest, I haven't really finished setting it up. Workbench update. This would have been taking a picture to show everybody what's going on. Look, doors open, outside air coming in. It's cold in here at the moment. Not as bad as it has been. But at this stage, I still had my screwdrivers up on the wall and my squares and my old soldering station accessories. So that all changes, as you'll see in later months. More Pi Pico. Great, I love these things. That was a fun project, but I thought I was going to do more with that, but I ended up just throwing it together and putting a video out and then forgetting all about it. Here we come to something that you're going to see on the channel fairly soon. It's actually quite a big project, and I've been procrastinating a little bit too much over it. So I've been distracted by many things, not least Christmas and all of the goodies that Paul has been sending me to repair. But this is an Amstrad 464 Plus that Simon Osborne sent me at Flibblsan on Twitter. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. There's a lot wrong with this. And Oh, look, sneak preview there. But that's a big one. The way I recorded, actually, you'll probably see better pictures than this, but the way the way I recorded videos up until recently was to have, it's like a broomstick there with an arm, an opposable arm, so I could put the phone camera. I used phone cameras up until recently. I now use much higher quality cameras, and I'd use a phone camera and have it just in this like vent mount thing attached to the end, or a car phone holder, or a phone holder for cars. It's a phone holder, and that I could just put that wherever I want, up high or down low, as you would with most cameras. And that's how I worked. But this is quite a wobbly thing. So the actual stick itself is a bit wobbly, but then this as well, with the weight of a phone on the end of it, didn't take much. I've got that workbench is very, very solid. It's quite thick, and has hefty legs and is not going anywhere. But you didn't have to do much to make the camera wobble, and quite a few shots I have to stabilize. So that was a bit of a pain, but we'll come on to that. So what am I? Oh, I'm working on the 464 Plus there. That's the 464 Plus. That's how high my workbench is, which is very high. Go and measure that against like a normal kitchen work surface. It's higher than a kitchen work surface, and I like to be able to work standing up without bending over. I suffer really badly from a bad back. And the workbench that you can see behind me, that's the original workbench. The workbench on this side is the one I film on. In fact, I do all the work on there. But the old workbench is much lower, normal traditional height. It's all right for things like woodwork, but yeah. And there it is. This is the old workbench. This is the old tool wall, and this would have been me clearing up this workbench. It all gets put onto the other one. And there we are. Pinball table's still there. The floor is quite clear in this one. That's quite impressive. It's not at the moment. I'm this wall here, which is this is the outside wall. That wall there is utility room behind it, and that wall is the house. This wall at the moment, I've got this ladder going across the top. I'm going to get rid of the ladder. I don't need a ladder anymore. I'm too old to go up ladders. I'll probably fall off now. I'll have to find somewhere else to put my clamps, but I want to turn this wall into somewhere to store all of the computers and things. So I want to build shelves that will allow me to use and display them in a way that I've not been able to so far. I was reluctant to do that because some of the work that I do in here is quite dusty. So I'm going to have to find a way of draping plastic sheeting over the shelves and things when I'm working with dusty things. Maybe I can have something rolled up at the top that I could just drop down and to protect them. But most of the time, I don't do so much of that anymore. When I used to be working with, and I will come back to that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's a question that I need to answer. But yeah, that wall, I need to make better use of that wall. I'm sitting where this picture was taken, but facing the other way. You can see the tall wall behind me. This is where my computer is. It's almost like a workshop tour. That's me. And Specky from Hell Part 3 would have been in May. So I often will upload an early version of things that I'm going to release and show them to a select group of friends and a few other YouTubers and people that I know that give me feedback and point out problems. for me to change things if I need to. Lee Smith is a good example of one of those people. He's always been there for me in the YouTube scene. He's just another just wonderful, wonderful, lovely man. Oh, I have to cut that out. So, where are we up to? May. Oh, I need to go a bit faster. I think it's going to go faster anyway because the summer months get a bit lean. June, 464 plus again. Me working on it and doing some more stuff. Late. Yeah. Subs did slow down. But one thing that started happening in the summer is I started going to car boot sales. Oh, actually, let's have a look at this. This is one of my favorite comments I ever got on one of my videos. Typical craponomics, wasting precious electronic components on this junk. I don't know on how many levels they got that wrong, and not sure. So yeah, car boot. I hadn't been out. We've been shielding at home for 2 years at this point, over 2 years, and this was the first car boot sale that I got to go to, and I had high expectations. I thought I was gonna be picking and choosing between the ZX Spectrums, the broken ZX Spectrums, and Commodore 64s, and I don't know, Deck Alphas. It didn't happen. But on my first outing, I found that, which doesn't work. That, which is Mole Grips, it's trademarked. That they are really nice. They're tiny, a miniature pair, not really retro, but that, a WH Smith's cassette recorder. This is actually a really nice one with lots of different inputs. You know, you've got the DIN plug and the ear mic and a remote. Really nice, that one. I'll get that one working. A floppy drive that was in a box full of old components. I picked up the floppy drive and they said they only wanted 50p for it. They said I could have the whole box for 10 quid. I'm just regretted that every week I went back. This is one of the first things I saw, and I didn't see in the whole summer. I didn't see anything like that again. 10 quid, but it was junk, but I like junk. And I found this zip stick, which Rosie didn't think much of, but that was at the end of one aisle, sitting on a blanket on the floor, tangled up with some cables, and the guy wanted, I think it was either a quid or 2 quid for it, and I bit his hand off. And underneath the grime, it's immaculate. No wear on it at all. It's perfect. Oh, not talking about that. Let's talk about that. No, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about this Master System. I was asked after one of these for a long time as well. Putting a bid on this one. It wasn't in very good condition. But it worked. And I had a big hole melted in the back. I still don't know what that's about. I think there was a switch or something mounted in there, possibly, or an alien had burst out of it. But that's what it cost me, 20 quid plus £3.50 postage. Yeah, at the same time, I wanted I already had the Mega Drive 1. I wanted a Mega Drive 2, just for completeness sake. So I put in a bid. I put in a. I was watching many different eBay listings, and then I won these two early for what I thought was decent money. That one was just over 20 quid. It also came with a load of games, well, some games as well, which was quite nice, and 2 controllers. So I was quite pleased with that. and it worked. And then shortly afterwards, a listing came up, and it's this one. Sega bundle not tested. Master System 2 times 2, Master System and Mega Drive. That's all it said on that front page, with just a Master System not very well photographed. I won that for £42 plus nearly £10 postage. So what's that? That's oh, it came with that as well. So that's one. Oh, hang on. So it came with 2, 3, 4 games consoles for £42 and a Mega Drive power stick, arcade power stick, which is really beefy. But the good thing was that the Mega Drive is the high definition stereo sound one. I'm pretty sure it's the desirable one. Not that interested in the Master System 2s. I already had one of these. And in fact, I already had two. I've got one with a load of games. I've got that one that Sparks and Zeros gave me, and these two as well. I'll be adapting one of these for RGB out. Is it RGB? Like the passive RGB out conversion. I was given. I'm trying to think of the name of the store. I'm so sorry if I've forgotten your name. But someone gave me. You'll see soon. There's going to be a video at some point. The mod to have better output on this that's not RF. So you can use like the Master System, the original power deck, power base cable, or even a Mega Drive cable. I think. When I've converted that, that will be going up for the rose tinted Spectrum charity auction, as well as something else that you're going to see soon. But yeah, all of that lot was amazing. Still on 464 plus, getting somewhere there. Looks like, oh yeah, this is the listing. This is the bundle that arrived. These are the actual machines. Really well packaged in cellophane wrapping, but not much else. But they all got here safely. Nothing was broken. So yeah, 2 Master System 2s, Mega Drive, and the Master System, and the control deck. The arcade stick. So this one had quite beaten up. This one also quite beaten up. Some worrying marks on it. These were actually in reasonable condition. They all just look like they've been in a box in a garage. With probably components in there with them. It's just all the scuffs and scratches. And it's not like you can polish these. These are all textured finishes, so it's impossible to get scratches out of them without taking that texture off. That yeah, that's the inside of one of the. I think that's the Mega Drive. Yeah, it's shed. That's been in a shed. Look. So some people would probably get these and think, I've been ripped off. But I look at this and think, oh my God, I've got a lovely project full of spiders and rusty screws. So the Master System, inside the Master System, it's actually good. Switches need replacing. I'll show you later something that they're going to be replaced with. It's like spider webs. More spiders. Definitely shed fodder. This Master System 2 also must have been in a damp bit of the shed, probably at the bottom of the pile. Look at that. That's actually been sitting in water. Oh, I bet it still works. Oh, maybe not. Oh, that poor thing. I'll make you work again, Master System 2. Don't worry. You might not have your RF shield though. But this is what the ultrasonic cleaners for, which you can probably remove. Yeah, it's down there. Let's go back here. Yeah, that many of these worked. I think the two rusty ones, the Mega Drive and one of the Master Systems 2s, I didn't try because they were just in too poor a condition. But the stick worked fine. So it looks like I was having a clear out. Still the same wall, still the same screen. I keep my Workbench waxed. It's not too shiny for the lighting. Don't get too many reflections on the camera. If you varnish it and polish it, and then you tend to get reflections. But when everything's off of the Workbench, it tends to go onto the other Workbench. These are the buttons that we got to go into the Master System and the Mega Drives. No, into the Master. Do the Mega Drives use? No, they don't. I don't think. No, I don't think they do. Yeah, it's just the Master Systems use that type of button. So we found a load of these cheap ones, me and Lee Smith. Oh, look, I cleared off the other Workbench. So my new oscilloscope was just sitting. Can you see it on here anywhere? It would tend to sit on that Workbench, and then I'd bring it across or under that Workbench often. And then I would bring it across to the other Workbench when I needed it. So I decided to make somewhere to keep it safe. So on all my walls, these pieces of wood here, this is called French cleats. There are 3 rows on there, and there's a row on this Workbench as well. I'll probably put another one up somewhere. And this is this piece of wood here has a 45-degree angle on it, and the 45-degree angle is on the top edge of the one on the wall, and then on the back of whatever I hang on it is another piece with the opposing angle, and you can just slot things, all of these things that are on the wall here, I can just lift off and move around. Not that they do move very often, but it's nice to be able to get things into the right place. So that's all of my tools are hung on French cleats. So I wanted one for a tool holder box thing for the oscilloscope. And so that's what I'm building at the time. Gary Arno, off of Twitter. What's his Twitter handle? Search Gary at Garyano, ARNOTT, who draws incredible reproductions of posters and covers from games back in the day. Arcadia was my favorite game on the ZX Spectrum, still is. And he didn't draw this one for me. He drew it for DAF as well, and he gave me the high resolution files, and my lovely next door neighbor Terry printed them up, or printed this poster for me at his works. That's still there now. You can't see it from there, but yeah, that poster is still on the wall. So yeah, I'm still making. I do like woodwork. It's very, very satisfying, and it's a very handy skill to have. It's become quite useful for this sort of thing. Just if you can make a box, you can make something useful, and as long as you can cut squares, and that's not just square in one dimension, it's square in two, so cubes. If you can cut cubes, then you're all good. Or one of the previous year's Christmas presents, a really crappy Chinese made pin nailer that wasn't working very well when I did this. But these headless pins are amazing, and that's a handy pin nailer. And that glue, Gorilla Glue, is my favorite. Great wood glue. So yeah, I just put this, quickly knock this together. That's more like, that's the nail gun that I got for the first Crispageddon. A Ryobi Airstrike. Bigger, thicker nails. Doesn't need a compressor to run it either. Anyway, that's my oscilloscope station. I think I've added, yeah, I added a piece of wood across the front edge here to stop things falling out. Yeah, you can see it in that picture. And a piece of wood across there to stop the oscilloscope falling off. That works really well. But this is not where it lives now. I put it up there thinking that was where it was going to live, but it wasn't practical. But we'll get to that in a minute. I always end up with boxes full of scrap wood. They take up so much room, and you very rarely use them. So this was my old soldering tool station. The reels would sit on the front, and the tools would sit in there. And I wanted somewhere. All of these things that you can see on here I wanted somewhere that all of this could be stored in something like this. So I got to building that next. That's it underway. Not the finished product. And then it looks like a package arrived. I'm not sure what's in this. Yes, this is another Amstrad 464 Plus that Simon sent over to be upgraded, not repaired. This one was fully working, but that will all be explained in the video. And he sent a load of stuff over for me as well. But he's just the most generous person, which you'll see. I did a lot of work on that first 464 Plus, and he gave it to me just because he's a nice person. He bought a second one for himself and gave me the first one. I was blown away. So more soldering station stuff. I put some dividers into so I could have different sections for different types of tools. And this is the end of June. Not sure why my Amiga is on the workbench. I probably took a picture for a video. But yeah, that's June. July. So carrying on with the soldering station. That's a top-down view. This bit here is where I hang all of the cutters and wire strippers and long nose pliers, that sort of thing, all go in there. And I've got a lovely little holder for my Topnic flux. There we go. And I think that's pretty much the finished product. There's a lot more in it now. You tend to, I've tried to think of everything that would go in there, toothbrush and pens and all sorts that I would want to get with a fiberglass pencil, but you add tools to your tool set. So for instance, this fiberglass pencil, I've now got similar version of that with a brass wire brush and one with just like a more gentle brush. I've got, I think, 3 or 4 different types. One with just a wire brush in it, not brass one. And I haven't got any. I should really extend that across. But what have I done with that? Oh, that's where Snorker's badge lives on that bit. But I really should extend this across and have those living across the front of there. But this bit wasn't on there. This is the desolder station nozzle cleaners. And there's a spare tip for my pine seal soldering iron. But yeah, a lot more stuff lives in there now. There's all sorts that have migrated into there. But it's handy having the all of the stuff in one place. I highly recommend it. It's a philosophy that I subscribe to, that Adam Savage promotes, that if a tool that you can't get your hands on instantly is not a tool that gets used. I'm very, very lucky, and I'm so grateful to have this space. I know lots and lots of people don't have a dedicated space that they can use as a workshop or a workplace to do these things. But if you can set aside even a small space, you can turn it into something that you can get a lot done with some careful thought about what sort of tools you generally want to use. Before I did all this, when I had toolboxes for tools, you just grab the, if you needed something to pry something open, you grab the closest screwdriver rather than the proper tool. Oh, that's nice. So yeah, tools that you can instantly lay your hands on are tools that get used. Drawers and toolboxes are where tools go to die. This, I posted this on Twitter, jokingly saying something like, I've been sold a lie or something like that. And people went nuts. There's some of the comments are going to pop up in a little bit. Look, I've tied it up again. Not much changes on that tool wall. This is all my woodworking stuff mainly. Go back. There we go. So another box arrived. This box is quite a special one. I have to look up his name. That wasn't that far back. Right, so this was sent to me by at Oso Baboga on Twitter. Let me check out his. Who very, very generously commented on one of my videos asking if I wanted an Amiga. And I said, yes, of course I wanted an Amiga. And he just sent it to me. He said I could do what I wanted with it. I could do a giveaway on the channel. Like, some people do promotions. Subscribe to be in with a chance of winning. And I considered that and thought, that's not for me. I don't want people subscribing to the channel who aren't going to watch the content. I do this because I want people to share my journey. I want people to share the fun that I have. That's the only reason that I do this. I do not do this for money. I do not do this for the clicks. I just do it for fun. So I decided not to give it away. I wasn't going to sell it. That's not what's going to happen. But another option was to sell it for charity, in a similar way to the charity Atari. So I pondered that for a little while. And then when Dave from Rose Tinted Spectrum said we were talking about the next charity stream that he's going to do in Easter this year, I said, why not do a raffle, and offered this Amiga 500, which at the time had been repaired. And he's delighted with that, and that's actually snowballed into something huge. There are all kinds of many of you that are watching this have offered items to go into that raffle. Some of them actually make mine look. Well, I thought this was going to be the star of the show, but well, it still might. In fact, I think it still will be because who's Simon? Simon, the lovely, generous Osborne, has offered a pie storm to go in here. That's going to be some machine. So it says Amiga 500 plus on the outside, but it's not. It's a 500. But it does come with a tank mouse and power supply. And I gave it a sunbathe, so the keys are not as yellow as they appear here. And it came with this chip, this Kickstart ROM, which is in a very sorry state with legs covered in solder and all bent up. But we'll get to that in a sec. So yeah, the comments on the shatter resistant, I posted lies. This guy says it says resistant, not proof. This guy says it hasn't shattered though. If it had, there would be more broken pieces. And it did just break, to be fair. It didn't shatter, as their lawyers would tell you. Let it go. Ran le bit. Resistant. Resistant. Not proof. Sorry about the accent. And Reese. Reese always makes me laugh. Oh, I do love you, Reese. You're so funny. So yeah, the next thing I built was somewhere to keep my bench power supply and desolder station. And I also, this is doubled. I used some mounting tape to put this soldering iron holder on top, and that's worked out really well. The cables hanging down when I'm using it are a bit of a pain, but they just fold up when I'm not. That's worked really, really well. I'm pleased with that. It's really nice to have the bench power supply right where you can use it, and you'll see that I added the hot air station on the right here later on. There's one final comment. This ruler likely has a 10% shatter resistance buff. But that, no, this was actually quite, but that ultimately does not grant it immunity to a shatter-inducing attack. Next time, get yourself a shatterproof ruler with that guaranteed 100% shatter resistance. No guarantee it will hold to fire, shock, or poison damage. So, now, this guy gets it. This guy understands a joke. Thank you. Early Pinball episode thumbnails. What was I thinking? I still quite like those. But you can see that I'm actually holding. That's just like a paint pad with no paint on it, and a paint tin with the lid on. Oh, okay, I think I'm funny. So another car boot sale. I got to about a dozen in the year. Oh, put a daffodil in that. I didn't. I'm so sorry, whoever that is. Oh, it's the balloon guy. Oh no. Oh god. Anyway, moving swiftly on. PlayStation 3 at that car boot sale. I think I paid 20 quid for it, which I was really pleased. Works perfectly. It cleaned up fairly well. Came with a controller and a copy of Flight of the Conchords. And yeah, it worked straight out of the boot. And I sold that to James, I think, for 20 quid. I didn't. I just passed it on to him as he needed one. But I love PlayStation 3s. I used to hate them when they were current. They were just. I was not interested in PlayStation 3s at all. But since then, fantastic machines. So there's the new setup with the oscilloscope, my iFixit kit. This is not the one that Keith Yawning Angel bought me, but there are all my tweezers hanging there. Yeah, and we're still missing a bit over here that we'll see soon, I'm sure. Move the poster over. Up to 1,400 subscribers. Not moved much over the summer. Nobody was watching very much. Nobody was watching retro stuff over the summer, and I wasn't really making a lot of content. Not as much as towards the end of the year. But yeah, it's I think the pinball table is still there in this corner. All of the boxes are here. They're stacked far too high. I've actually moved quite a few over here. I've added a few more since then as well. But yeah, you can see a little glimpse of as a light bulb there. Before I had just, I think, 5 light bulbs spread out up here to reduce the glare as much as possible. But it was not a good system. It didn't work very well. It was difficult to film under those kind of lights. I only have the one over my workbench. There's another light in the middle of the garage, an LED light. But yeah, I've improved my filming setup no end very recently. So more workbench stuff. I've no idea why all these were out. I probably took these for a photo of something. Excuse me. And then lovely Reese sent me some honey from his own hives. Not for sale or promotion, promotional use only. ControlAltBees.com. He's a clever man. I mean, there's no way that piddly little channel like me is going to be able to say to you, you need to go and subscribe to Reese, and any of you go, oh, Reese who? He's huge now. Right, this might arrive from another of my good pals who I've met so many people through making YouTube channels. I've met so many people through making YouTube videos that have just blown me away with their generosity. So Mike DX, let me get his Twitter name. Mike DX at the Mike DX off of the Twitter. Approached me and asked me if I would be interested in working on some Game Gears, which I'm usually very interested in working on something I've never worked on before. If it's something I've got, if I've done a lot of, I'm probably going to go, oh, I've really got time. Which I don't have time for very much at all. Oh, why did that go suddenly bright and then? Oh, look at that. The camera's going bright and... Why is it doing that? Very weird. So, Mike... Oh, it's still doing it. I'm going to turn it off. All right, try again. Is that going to be all right? Maybe if I sit a bit closer. So, Mike generously offered to send me 3 Game Gears to be recapped, which doesn't sound very generous until I point out that he said I could keep one of them. So I jumped at the chance, and this is the package with the Game Gears in, and you've seen the triple Game Gear repair video. That video tanked really hard. Didn't do very well at all. I don't think handheld devices make very good videos for some reason. They don't seem to get the views. So this is the Amiga's Kickstart ROM version 2.05 that was in the machine. This is actually worse than the one that I was sent with it. I honestly don't know what's going on here. It looks like it's had links broken off and soldered back on, and look, that one's not even That pin is bent under and not even making contact. So that needed sorting out. Fortunately, I think the it will be there's footage I've recorded of this. I'm hoping to make it into a video. This is one of the things that happens reasonable amount on my channel. I'll record a repair, but it will never make it into an episode. I try to make sure that every episode is a story. Sometimes if it's just a repair, then it doesn't get it doesn't interest me. And if it doesn't interest me, it's not going to interest you. So but this should do, because it is quite interesting and it is relevant to what's going to happen with the Rose Tinted Spectrum charity stream, which you will be hearing a lot about in coming months. The only downside on this machine is it's got an earlier MOS chip, an earlier Agnes chip in it, an 8371. We need a later one so that we can upgrade it to 1MB chip RAM. I've put in a ROM switcher. That I'm not sure what that is, but I've put in there a different sort of kickstart. I probably robbed it out of my one to see if I can get it working, and it did work. It worked fine. Stripped it apart, cleaned it all up, bleached the keys in the sun for a bit. Oh, my little Rosie. She comes in and hangs out in the garage with me in the summer. So the door's always open, and she'll just pop in, rummage around, and then go away again. Right. So these were sent to me by the Lost Retro Tapes. He's sent me an issue 3B, a white issue 3B. I've got a few Spectrum boards that I need to build, which it's a tricky thing because I need to find time for everything, and there's only 24 hours in a day, and apparently I have to sleep for some of them. But yeah, he's very kindly sent me these. One day I will use this, I'm sure. And an SD2 IEC, I've definitely used that. I can't remember what that one is. It looks like I wonder if, oh my god, I think that might be an Atari 2600 composite mod board. If that is, that's super handy because I actually need one of those. I have to dig that out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. The issue 4V is based on the issue 4s, but where it's got things like the axial capacitors, you can actually put in radial capacitors in the same footprint. Or here, I think it is. Yeah, so there's a plus there. Those are the minus. Oh no, that says plus and minus there. So that's the plus. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. I need to look at it a bit more closely. And there are a few there are a few other differences as well. It's got the capacity to have trim pots that were in the issue 2s, but they replaced the trim pots that were to change the I think it's like the one of the video signals coming out that changed the color. My camera's going bright again. Why are you doing that? Stop it. That's really distracting. Yeah, so the issue 2 ZX Spectrums had the 4 trim pots in this position to do things like the dot crawl and the color, to tune the color in, which you should never touch unless you've got the equipment to get it exactly right. they took it off and replaced that with transistors that would do it automatically. But that kind of set it with the issue 2. You could set it to perfect dot crawl, because on a ZX Spectrum you get a thing called dot crawl, where it looks like the dots are crawling down the screen, all of them. It's like a shimmer that goes on all the time. You barely notice it, but we used to see it all the time. With an issue 2, you can change one of the variable capacitors on there to actually tune that so it would barely be moving. It's a really tricky one to get exactly right, but you could get it so it looks like it's dead still. So, and it makes a picture look amazing. I'm pretty sure that TC1 is for that, which is a very cool thing. Yeah, there's a few things about that board that are quite interesting to me. And the yep, the two 464 pluses. This nice case is the one that went back to Simon after it got upgraded. But for a while they, I mean, you could see the difference there. I managed to get them quite a bit closer by bleaching them in the sun, sunbrighting them, and giving them a good clean. Oh, look at this old man here. Oh, oh, there's more hair there than that. I'm not sure what was going on there. Another car boot sale. Found another an external floppy drive. That was handy. I use this all the time. This is amazing. A SCART switcher. A hat for the snorkers. I saw this, and it wasn't a huge amount of money, and I just had to send it to James. From a Romanian army hat. Oh. More sunbrighting. I think I did it over a few days, and look, you can see the difference is quite similar now. Go back to this one. The keys obviously look a lot more yellow, but this case didn't need anything. But this one, we brought it back to quite close to what it should be. It's difficult. The camera will always lie. But when you see them next to each other, it's it's a better comparison. More Retro Shack cables, Amstrad CPC 464 cable. Right, what's in this one? Any guesses? There's a voltage regulator in there. Some capacitors in here. Looks like it's from Retrolium, but I don't recognise this bit. What could that be? Ah, no. This is a kit. Oh, she put his name in. Let me have a look. Can we find it? It's Joe from Consoles Unleashed, who very kindly sent these a recap kit and voltage regulator. These replacement buttons that I pointed him towards for the Master Systems, and this I think is something. I don't know what it is. But it's to go in that Master System that is going up for charity. So this package arrived that Rosie's guarding here, addressed to Lee Making It from Mike DX. And Mike sent me two Amstrad CPC 464s. I'd never even touched one of these in my life, not even in the shops. Mike sent these over to me. And he again super generously said I could keep one. after I'd fixed them up. The one I kept is called Stig. There's a reason for that. Stig. These were in a shed somewhere. One of them was at the bottom and got all of the corrosion and gunk and disgustingness. This is the better one, I'm pretty sure. And this is the Stig. Look at that. It stank. It was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I think he bought them locally. I gave the outsides, especially of that one, a clean up. I think I left the Stig for when I did the video. Again, this is one I've recorded. It will make a video, this one, but it's just getting around to editing them, and I'm just snowed under. I'm getting our content out as quick as I can, but there's only one of me. Back to 464 pluses, which I'd got the one that I upgraded for Simon, hooked up with a GoTech. That looks like I popped out of one of my Amigas. And yeah, that worked fine. That's brilliant. 50,000 views on July 18th. Cracks me up. And 1,500 subscribers shortly after. Yay! Okay, so this back to the Amiga 500 that's going up for auction. I bought a ROM switcher. I bought a ROM switcher, and I bought the part of it that you can attach to allow you to select a ROM by holding a joystick direction or a mouse button. Whatever, you can set it up for all different things, and you can set it to do all different things. It's quite a clever piece of kit, that is. As in its finished form, it has wires running over to this side of the board where the joystick ports are as well. But that works a treat. I needed, this is an early revision, or what is it? A revision 5, which is the one that you can't just stuff an EEPROM into and it works. Like the revision 6, it has the necessary resistors and connections on the ROM socket that you can just program an EEPROM and drop it in there and it will work. But the revision 5, I learned the hard way, you can't do that. It doesn't work. So I bought this ROM switcher just to make sure that I could put whatever ROM I wanted on there, not necessarily to switch between them. But in the end, it worked out quite well, and that'll be left in there. But I hope it will, because I'm not sure it's actually. I don't know if it's going to fit, because the Pi Storm has to go here. I don't think it's going to fit. I'm going to have to think of something else. I might have to use the Kickstart ROM out of my Amiga 500 in this and put this in mine. Oh, that's a shame, because it's all soldered in. Actually, no, that is the shame. The keyboard on that Amiga 500 didn't work. There was some problems with it. So I think it was. I think it was Lost Retro Tapes sent me a. I'm looking. I am looking on my Twitter direct messages. Yeah, it was Lost Retro Tapes sent me the Spectrum. What's that? Oh yeah, the Spectrum motherboards. Did he send me? No. No, it wasn't him. Someone else sent me another Amiga, a replacement Amiga keyboard membrane. I'm not very organized. I'm so sorry. Why is that like that? Oh, right, okay. If I do forget when people send me stuff. No, it wasn't you. It was probably someone like Mike DX or someone like that, or Simon. Could have been Simon Osborne. But yeah, that they sent me a replacement one. I think they upgraded theirs to mechanical and didn't need the membrane anymore. So that went in there, which seems to be working fine. This was an unhappy part of my year, the GBS video signal conversion thing. Oof. Actually, that one I printed for James. Oh, I need to print him another one. James, the Specky from Hell, James. Right, I don't know what that is. Not sure what that's from. Random picture. Final Fantasy VII on my PS Vita. I went on the 10-hour 10-hour timestamp podcast, and I had to play Final Fantasy VII for 10 hours. I didn't have a good time. I'm sorry, but I didn't like it. Another car boot sale. Look at the ground. It's parched. Must have been hot that day. So what did we get? Why is that not clicking? Stuff. Another floppy drive. Christmas tree LED kit. I don't know why. I needed a hot melt glue gun. My one was really old and crap when I bought it. That floppy, an Amiga floppy drive. A wooden mallet. All of the woodwork that I've done, never owned a wooden mallet. And I've got a nice one now. That's a decent one. Oh, that's... Oh, right. Okay, so we've moved on. That's a random picture. That is the inside of the 464, the Amstrad 464 Plus. The tape deck hinges where the spring that makes it pop up attaches had kept constant pressure sideways on this hinge, and it ended up bending it away and made it stick. So I took an old PCB, a bit of PCB, and I epoxy resined it. I shaped it and epoxy resined it to the piece of plastic to straighten it out, and it worked a treat. That's on the one that went back to Simon. Hopefully that's still functioning. Another package. What is all of this? Get so many packages. So, this is from Simon. It's another care package from Simon. ASIC nobblers. I think these are to make cartridges for the 464 Plus. Dialogue inside. They sent me some EPROMs. He sent me... Oh, these are the parts to upgrade his 464 Plus, I think. Oh, no, these are the ones to do mine. I forget. That is... No, that's an electronically erasable EPROM, I think. He sent me some discs, some 5.5 inch discs, 5.25 inch discs. I'm suddenly unsure of what size they are. You'll see why in a second. He sent me this case that he'd modified, I think Harlequin or something like that, or more modern version of the Spectrum had been inside there. But this will be useful. I'll be using that for something. I'm tempted to I'm tempted to put some sort of pie inside of one, just so that I can have something that's got all the games on it and HDMI, just for convenience, so I can, if I want to show somebody on a telly in the house, I don't have to take converters and all sorts of things in. I can just plug it into a modern telly and it will just work. But it's important to me with emulation to have something that in your hands feels like the original thing. That's the most important thing. Latency doesn't matter to me that much. A few frames of latency make no difference to me. He sent an original PlayStation 1, a PlayStation, not PlayStation 1, it's called a PlayStation. In unknown condition. An Atari joystick, some games for the 464, a floppy drive port for the 464 Plus that I needed. And he sent this. This is one of the most incredible things I've ever been given. And I have to say thank you so much, Simon. I'm a tiny little channel. I'm sure that this is the sort of thing that even an RMC would be blown away to get. But this is the Atari XCGS, and he donated it to the channel. What a lovely thing. And there's a video coming on this. This is half done. It works. It didn't work. It still has a couple of things to do. I still have a couple of repairs to make on it. And I still need to finish filming it, but I'm glad that I've got some upgraded filming equipment to do it justice now at the end. He also sent an Atari 1050 floppy disk drive. So I'm going to need to build a cable for that. And make it work. And I have no idea what I'm doing with these. This is so this arrived at the same time. This must have been Simon that sent this. This is the membrane for the Amiga 500 charity one. So I still haven't filled that gap up on the right there. And there's my Snorkers badge. Pride of place. More Atari. Triple. Oh, look. There's so much going on in here to unwrap. I'm just going to scoot past because time is getting on and I have 6 months to go. This is going to be a long ass video. But this is second channel fodder. This is what you asked for. So yeah. Oh, look. That must have been a yay, it works moment. July. So August, please. Ooh. August arrives with a package. There's always a package. This is from Jim Blimey. No, not Jim. This is from Super Jim Tendo. Who asked me to service his Spectrum for him. And I'm always happy to help. So I said yes. And he kindly gave me a £75 wine voucher, a £25 gift card for World of Warships, and a £27 beer voucher. Thanks, mate. Yeah, this is the Spectrum that he got from Cash Converters for £29.99 that worked. And this was I was intrigued to see this because I'd never seen one. This was obviously upgraded because I mean the lower ramp is all in sockets. The CPU is in a socket, but the ROM is not. That's normal. ULA is not. Sorry, the ROM is in a socket. What did I just say? The lower RAM is soldered to the board, but the upper RAM is in sockets. The logic for the upper RAM is all in sockets, and it's got this little cockroach type affair going on. It's not the cockroach mod. It's, I don't think, is this the cockroach mod? I forget. I did look all this up at the time. Oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? Go away. And found out what it all meant for the video, but my memory is awful and I've forgotten what all this does. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But yeah, that was a lovely little Spectrum to work on. This is the underside of that board. Look at that. What a thing. And Dudley of Yesterzine sent me his Game Gear because he saw that I was doing the other three, and I had some spare kits left over, so I offered to recap his one. He gave me a game. What a lovely guy. This is a blast from the past. This is one of the first things I made. Must be 10 years ago now. And that is actually just a piece of the paper that's like a stencil that I cut out. I intended to paint it on there, but never got around to it. This is a stool that I made for my first arcade machine, which I'm too embarrassed to show you. I decided that I wanted to make the stool myself, and I ended up spending much more on wood and paint than it would cost to buy a brand new stool, because trying to paint MDF is very, very hard and it gets expensive. But yeah, that was an exercise in folly, and I ended up throwing it away. So this appeared from the car boot sale. That's taken on my car passenger seat on the way home. Atari trackball, which is amazing. This was just to take pictures. I'm in the middle of the Sega Game Gear repairs here. I do not like blue LEDs. So tacky. But I've had this sitting around from Retro Joy. He makes all kinds of laser cut plywood things, holders and things for consoles. He does like a Switch version. And he's done all different styles, and he's very creative. And he sent me this one for the Game Boy Advance, but for a long time I didn't have a Game Boy Advance. And then trying to think who I swapped with. I think it was Sparks and Zeros. Wanted Commodore 64. Didn't have one at the time. I had a spare one. I could have sold it and bought a Game Boy Advance, but I sent him my Commodore 64, and he sent me Game Boy Advance back. You'll see it in a minute. But yeah, I took apart the trackball, and I just find this fantastically satisfying. Look at that. That's a bearing. It's meaty. It rumbles. You can see the ball bearings. I love this. Hand drawn traces. And look. Yellow, Orn, red, brown. What's Orn? Violet, blue, and grey. What's Orn? Now I'm confused. What's Orn? What colour is Orn? Where's the picture of orange? Orn. I took this apart, cleaned all the rust off. You can see here that's it's now cleaned and oiled, and cleaned all the contacts up and polished the ball, and then put it all back together. That disc there, I think that sits. Is that one of the buttons? Yeah, that's one of the pads that go over here. Yeah, there they are. They're the contacts that I think they're gold plated. Might be solid gold, you don't know. Yeah, put it back together and it looked quite nice. I could probably use, I haven't got any yet. I need to get some of that plastic polish to do that, and the ball, and really bring it back. But the texture part looks pretty good. Maybe around that ring as well. This was my Christmas present to me. I got in August. One of the earliest Christmas presents that I've got for myself. A new chair. I love my chair. Get yourself, don't cheap out on chairs. Never cheap out on chairs. You will always regret it. So yeah, package arrived, and it was from Sparks and Zeros, who sent me a Game Boy Advance and some Warhammer. It's my first Warhammer thing I've ever owned. Thanks, mate. A few games and a charger. He also sent me some extra bits and pieces for that is a screen for a Sega Game Gear, and oh look, and the screen bezel is in there as well, a brand new one. But that's a second-hand screen, but it should be functional, hopefully. But they're a bit of a pain because you've got to solder that flat flex cable onto the board. Not the easiest thing to do. I've not needed to do that yet. But yeah, he sent me a lovely little Game Boy Advance, and that's it in the Retro Droid stand. Look at that. What a thing. And look. This was quite a big deal. I think this was... this might have been another Crispageddon, which would be about right. I was quite excited to get my new microscope, which came on this stand like this, but I never liked that stand, so I ended up taking it off of here. I mean, it works fine. It's actually decent for small stuff like that. Absolutely fine. But for bigger stuff, it's not ideal, and I don't like something that I've got to pick up, put on the bench to work on. I want it to be there instantly. I don't even like switching things on. So I put this lump of wood on the wall and drilled a hole in it. Actually, I drilled a hole in it later. For now, it's just clamped on, and I put a microphone boom arm, which is good in some ways. It works well up to a point. There's a lot of vibration. I got around this by attaching, I'll show you in a later picture, a piece of shock cord to the wall here, and you can't see it, but it's attached to there, and it just comes around. It lays across the workbench. It just sits here during the day, and then I can just pick it up and pull it out and stretch it onto the microscope, and it just takes all the vibration out of it. It works well, but it's not as convenient as I'd like. I would like a better solution than that. But yeah, I dismounted the lights from the base, and as you can see here, and mounted them on. I 3D printed this as something I found on Thingiverse, and mounted them under here with the control or the power supply. And that's also the mount that goes on the end of the boom arm. And then put it all together, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. It works really well. It goes up out of the way, and I can just pop it down when I need it. You can also see here, I built another extra little shelf. I just threw some pieces of wood together just to put the hot air station on. I mean, it's got soldering as well, but it's only used as, or very rarely used as, a soldering station, but mostly used as a hot air station. That works really well. Being able to have hot air, press a button, lift it up, put it back down, lift it up again, because that never works. I would never bother to use it if I wanted to shrink some heat shrink tubing on some wires. I would pick up. I would just do it with the soldering iron, which is really lazy and messy. But now I've got that to hand, I'll use that, and it just makes your work better and quicker and neater and nicer. The day after I did this, I remember this quite clearly. The day after I did this and put this mount on here, I bought this mount, went to a car boot sale, and found another mount. Typical. It didn't cost much. And I used that one for other things. So there, yeah, that was nice. There's a DC mod for an issue 2, ZX Spectrum. This is Super Nintendo's one. It's being finished up. Heatsink. I de-socketed the ULA and put a heatsink on and capped it. Tuned in all the. These are the variable resistors and these are the variable capacitors I was talking about earlier. Yeah, that's. This was my filming setup. So the arm hanging off of here. It's not like that anymore. And another Amstrad 464, CPC 464 arrived. Oh no, this is the Stig. This is when the Stig was being fixed up. The Stig was in a terrible, terrible state. Look, it looks like it's been salvaged from a shipwreck. So, yeah, that got a wipe down with a disinfectant wipe first. And the motherboard inside, reasonable, not too bad. There's, some deposits and a lot of grot on that back edge where it was open to the elements. But inside, not too bad. Not as bad as I feared. Pretty sure that's mouse shit. Not sure what that is. Some sort of woodlouse. Yeah, that got stripped. All of the springs were cleaned and de-rusted. All of the keys were scrubbed individually. Now, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't have what I've got now, because this would all be going straight to the ultrasonic cleaner. I spent most of an afternoon individually cleaning each one of these. I let them soak in Sterident first, which is it does a reasonable job. But look how good they came out. It's stunningly good. I'm really pleased with that one. And it's okay. So zip back here. This is the earlier board. Oh, that's yeah. No, this is the Stig. That's a later board. Has it got a revision on there? No. But this is the one that has the spaced. There's two different types of this chip. I can't remember what it does. But this one has the space, so I can put a socket in there. If I never need to test the other type of one of these, I pop this one out and put the other one in here. So it was really handy for me to have this one. The earlier board doesn't have that facility. I think we might see. Yeah, this is the earlier board. Oh, that has got two spaces. I didn't know that. Well, I probably did at the time, but I forgot. But this one takes up the entire case. Oh, it looks like I'm working on both of the 464 pluses here. Got the plastic window for the tape deck replaced by Lee Smith's workshop. He sells those for I think they're £5 each, and they look amazing. More cleaning, and another package arrives. It's got a GoTech in it. I think this is more stuff from Mike DX. Oh no, this is from Simon. Simon Osborne again at Flibblesand sent me. It's not actually a Gotek in there. It's just the case. He's sending me some spare bits. But this is the power supply for the XCGS, which I was missing. I did actually buy a DIN connector, and I was going to make up one, but excuse me, 4% battery. I did buy a connector to make up one, but the schematics that I found online didn't make much sense to me, and I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to put the wrong voltages in. I mean, I would have worked it out in the end, but he found the actual Atari power supply, the original one, so that was good. He sent me a spares board, Commodore 64 board. That's come in very handy. And he sent me this a CPC 464 with a toothless grin tape deck. This is the tool key one. So I got to work on all three types: the first revision, the later revision, and this very early tool key one. Which so that just needed. I can't even remember what was wrong with it, but I fixed it and it was fine. So what are we up to? August, 1,623 subscribers, which is amazing. Someone very generously sent me the keys that were missing for this, and we made this look great again. Car boot sale time. 4% battery still. Car boot sale, and an Atari 2600 Junior I got for £30 with all of these games. Can we rotate that? How does that work? Rotate left. There we go. All of these games came with it, which is great. For £30, and I got some sticks with it as well. And I got this, which has some dip switches on it. Obviously not original, which is even better. That was like the prize of the whole lot. One of my favorite games, Moon Patrol. Love that game. And it came with a couple of sticks, one of them kind of boxed. We're almost at the end of this month. See if I can. Oh, and this Super Mario 3, which apparently is not original, but works fine. So the keyboard on this was all rusted. This is the tool key. This is the nice version of the keyboard. And cleaned it all up. And this metal plate, I took all of the. Oh no, I didn't take all these out. I just bathed it in vinegar, and it stripped all the paint off as well. So I cleaned it up and waxed it to stop it rusting again, and it came up really nicely actually. And this was a miserable time. Might get into that later. But oh look, there's that keyboard with its metal plate. Right, be right back. Right, so that was August. We can skip through the next months because it's getting towards present day and is all kind of more recent history. So, yeah, this GBS thing that I tried to make I wasn't happy with that. It was a failed project that I poured quite a lot of time into at a time of the year when I was making projects that, or I was stuck in big projects all the time. So anyway, this is Simon's CPC 464. The tape deck needed quite a lot of work to bring it back up to living standards. I got the new keys for it, and it ended up. I think this one had a new window as well. It was stunning to look at in the end. It really came up lovely. Quite a lot of wear on this one, as far as I remember. But yeah, that all ended up working beautifully. And around this time, I guiltily looked at my pinball table, which used to sit here next to me, out of the way, and thought, actually, no, it wasn't me that thought anything. It was Paul, Universal Retro boss Paul, who contacted me and said, "Do you want to sell it or not?" I said, "Yeah, okay, I do want to sell it because it's going to waste here. I'd rather it was in somewhere it was going to live its best life and be appreciated, rather than a workshop where eventually I was going to knock something over and it was going to take a big chunk out of the paintwork and I would cry." So I started on it again. I'm making things for it and I'm finishing it up. At the same time, Matthias Bayer sent me his NES, which you're going to see at some point. This is I think this is his NES from his childhood. His uncle did some modifications to the power supply. It's got some wood screws in it. it's got this interesting plug on the end of it. It wasn't working. The cartridge port was having problems. I got that fixed and working, and that's now stored here. I've just ordered a RGB kit for it, the good one, and that'll be getting fitted. And I've recorded the repair, such as it was, and I'll record the episode will mostly be about the RGB installation. So this also arrived. This is the final bit of the Mike's upgrade to his the two Sega Game Gears that I sent back to him. I kept one for myself. I kept the one that was in the worst condition. Actually, no, I kept the second best one. The one that was in the worst condition went into this case, and the best one, which was pristine, was really nice. He's got the box for it and everything. That's going to be stored as a as an as-is system. But this the one that with the Tatius case went into this one, which ended up looking gorgeous. So more work on the pinball machine. That was actually a lot of fun. I ended up playing. I did this. The pinball machine took over for about 6 weeks of my year, where I had to throw all of my energy into doing it. And what I said was, with the money that I got from selling the pinball machine, I would buy something for the channel. And I ended up buying what this is, this camera. In fact, no, that one, because I've got two of them now. I was so impressed. So the money has gone back onto the channel. It was kind of where the channel started, and I thought that was quite a poetic thing to do. Another package. This one from eBay. An Atari 7800. I've never owned one. I've opened this up since, and it's got problems. So that's good. Looks like I don't know why I'm taking a picture of the workshop from that angle. Look, that's that Atari. Is that the 7800 or the? It's an Atari 7800. I bought this. I can't remember why, but it looks. Oh, can we see if it is? No, it's an earlier, probably a 4S. You can tell because the logic chips are still separate. It's not a 6. Yeah, I bought that and I can't remember why, but it hasn't been touched since. I think it's a 3B or something like that. This is the voltage that was on the ground of my screen, my test screen on the bench. So that had to go. Yeah, and here we are in the GBS hellscape. I bought all sorts for this. I already had the ESP chips, boards. I bought the capacitors to up, following the guide, I upgraded these capacitors. I bought this signal generator that would clean up something, and I mounted it all to this GBS 8200 board, which was working before. Byron Hasbeard plays games. Sent me a really good board that did everything I wanted, and for some reason I took it off. Just I'm sorry. I'm an idiot sometimes. But yeah, this is a different way of mounting this. I followed Voltar's guide on this, and I'm sure it works, but I couldn't get it to work. And I think it's because the setup is more to do with the NTSC modes that it outputs. It doesn't work well on PAL systems. There's a VGA to HDMI converter that they recommended, which actually works fine. Yeah, and there's the signal generator mounted in the correct place, and it's all perfectly wired. Checked again and again. Didn't work. So I went to this screen as my test screen. I was using, and that was one of the reasons I went with this GBS 8200, is so I could use this as my test screen, and it never ended up working very well. To the Sinclair Whisperer. I don't remember what this is. Oh yeah. This is from Adam Commodore Lad. He sent me 2 Spectrums that he didn't want anymore. And I can't imagine why he didn't want these Spectrums. This +2 grey, which has had its RGB port ripped out. And looks like used as a litter tray liner. What would you expect from a massive Commodore fan? I mean, this is probably exactly. He's probably been in the bottom of his birdcage. And this Spectrum Rumble Kitty, which I'll be honest, I was surprised what state it was in, but sneak preview, I've seen inside this. It's pristine. Oh, oops, sorry. So yeah, that will be fun to get those in the ultrasonic cleaner and make them shine again. Looks like I'm finishing off CPC. I had some problems with with the CPC 464s, or one of them, with Simon's one that with Mike's one that I sent back to him. It, with the cable from a Retro Computer Shack, the voltage wasn't high enough to power it once it was plugged into a screen, and I thought it was to do with the screen that I was using not being right, and it wasn't. It worked perfectly when it was plugged in separately and powered separately from the SCART connection, but a normal TV that needs that blanking signal to be energized to activate RGB mode, it wouldn't work in conjunction with that. If that was how you were displaying the picture, the computer would. I wonder if I've got some footage of it here. The computer would just freak out and freeze and do all sorts of weird stuff. So it needs to be powered separately, that one. I'm not sure how Mike's got. I'm not sure if he's plugged it in since he got it back, but it depends. I the best I managed to get was to plug it into something that didn't need that signal and then power it separately, so I could plug it into my OSSC through the SCART and then out to HDMI. No problem. Looks like I changed the screen again. I've put, this is actually the screen that I'm looking at here. I wasn't happy with that one either. I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, that's my... It's Archie. Where did I get an LG TV from? Oh, no, that's the screen I ended up... That's a massive 32-inch. It doesn't look as big as it actually is. But I bought that as my test screen. I had it on the end of the bench for a while, but it looked like the sun had gone. So yeah, more. This is probably when I do the case mod for that Game Gear. Put a wall mount on the back of that screen, and come on, and hung it on the wall to the right of the workbench. That I'm not happy with that. I have still got a small mount here. I'm going to get a small screen of some sort and put it back over here. So because if I've got a small screen on there that's off the workbench, that's ideal because I've still got the workbench space underneath it. I want this bit of wall back because I intend to extend across here with more workbench space, and possibly storage. But yeah, that screen's too big and it doesn't work as well as I'd like. Not as a test screen. It's difficult to video it. It's dark and yeah, it's been okay. Oh look, I've tidied up. So there's no filming equipment in the way here, but we'll get to that. What are we looking at here? Oh, this is the screen mod for that Game Gear. With a nice IPS screen from Retro 6. Really nice. Right, I'm flagging a bit now, so let's skip through. Oh, look. Oh, yeah, that's me sending all this stuff back. This is the pinball machine being finished off. I found that the casing for all the electronics had slumped off. In the videos, you'll see me tape these on with duct tape, and that was fine. Then we went through that 40-degree heat, and it all just kind of sloughed off. So that's all epoxy resined on and won't go anywhere now. That sits under my telly now. Or actually, that sits under. That sits. Can I see it on here? Can we go back up? That sits under there. So I've got all my outputs ready to connect to whatever I'm working on. Yeah, more insides of the pinball machine. And then another car boot sale, which I bought my first CRT and a quick shot joystick. I don't even know where that is now. Oh, it's up there. £5 that was. And I mean, you can never photograph them very well, but yep, worked a treat. Works fine with the Specky as well. That's through composite, I do believe. So because I got a CRT, I had to, of course, get a light gun out, and I've got a Guncon, a Namco Guncon, and PlayStation 2, and I hooked that up, and I had some lovely old times. And last picture of the month in September is of the pinball table, still under construction. Still needed to fix the bezels and everything on it. But that's September. Oh, come on. October. No, not that one. October started with the pinball. This is going to be dominated by the pinball table. And I set a score for Paul. He's blitzed that since, but I was quite proud of that score. But oh, look, here we go. This is the pinball table, mostly finished. It's still missing the glass there with the vinyl bezels. I'm very proud of that. It did come out. It worked beautifully well. That's got the glass on there, and it's got some markers for where the vinyl is going to be stuck. That's amazing. I still, when you see it on a 2D screen, it looks so real. So this table that I'm playing here is Silver Ball Mania, which is the artwork that I painted on the side. So this is the first time that this table was complete, where it's actually playing the game that the art was stolen from. It's actually quite an enjoyable table for one of the earlier ones. Did enjoy that. I played and played and played that. But yeah, Silver Ball Mania. The artwork is quite interesting. There's a lot of there's some hidden stuff going on. What is this guy doing to that table? And she seems to be enjoying herself as well. But yeah, that's the guy that painted the artwork on this. Hid a lot of iconography, let's say, in what he painted. There's a lot to unpick. That is, some of it is a bit dodgy. But yeah, anyway. So I also played Godzilla a lot while I was finishing it off and set him a lovely big score on that. He's probably beaten that. And here's Paul enjoying the table for the first time when I went round to install it at his house. And yeah, he's really enjoying it. Look, 1 million. Come on, keep up. But this is Paul's cave, and what an incredible room that is. I could just spend hours and days and days and weeks in here. It's a glorious room. That's behind the bar. All these mini arcade machines. That was for Rose Tinted Spectrum. If you ever find a copy of Kong for the ZX Spectrum by Ocean, you are compelled to buy it and send it to Rose Tinted Spectrum. Okay. So after after I sold the pinball machine to Paul, we came to an arrangement, and he buys and sells lots and lots of computers and games consoles and software. He's a big collector of software, and all of the broken ones, they come to me, and I get to fix them. And he sent me these two Oryx. One of them worked fine. The other one, the other one is a project for me, and I've done some work on it. I've actually changed them. I bought some chips and some of the less expensive ones, and changed some chips, and I haven't got it working yet, but I will. But there's other problems. You'll see a picture in a minute. But this is one of the machines that he sent me to repair. I mean, this is from more recent videos, so we can probably skip through these. But I love that. I do love that. Look at that. That's just amazing. Okay, so this is what I bought with my pinball machine money. Sony ZV-E10. ZV-E10 doesn't sound right. ZV-E10. And this was sent to me by Keith at Yawning Angel, the YouTube channel Yawning Angel. He does a lot of stuff with Amiga programming in Amos. Lovely guy, Keith, really nice, and he's a small channel. If you haven't seen him yet, go and have a look. But he sent me his BBC Master. That is, I have footage. I might be able to make a video out of it. I mean, I should. If I can't make a main channel video out of it, I will certainly put the footage up on this channel so that people can see this incredible, perfectly preserved BBC Master 128, which was new in box. Basically, it's never been used, but it did. He sent it to me, and it had this battery pack in with quite a lot of alkaline floating around inside that. I'm so glad that they put these plastic prophylactics on, just to stop it. You know, it sits in here, the battery. Oh no, it sits down. I can't remember. Where did it sit? Oh, it sits somewhere where it wasn't actually a big problem if it did leak too much, but it would have still made a mess. But yeah, this thing was just immaculate with a cherry membrane keyboard, which is not what most BBC machines have. Most of them have that mechanical thing going on with switches, but this is a membrane. This is a very late model that before it got phased out. So that was his. This is mine. I bought this from Arcadesy. Dodgy keyboard, Ethernet chips missing, composite out not working. That's a project for another day. And then we're into more recent things. These are all the machines that I've. Oh, look, there's that Oric. So this Oric had no memory installed and sockets installed, which is unusual. Which, I mean, that doesn't sound unusual, but when you put chips in these sockets and try and close the case, this happens. It doesn't fit. You can't put sockets in these in an Oric 1. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do something with that. In fact, I think I've put all the MT RAM in there, just to test it. I'm not sure there's anything in there at the moment. So yeah, Keith wanted me to make sure that the BBC was okay to use. Might have feared that there would be reefer capacitors in the power supply, and I opened it up and found these blue ones by Philips, and I asked on Twitter, and some of the lovely expert people on there are always so generously sharing their knowledge, informed me that these are perfectly safe and there's nothing I need to do to this. I mean, these are fairly old normal electrolytic capacitors in here, but it's never been, probably switched on a dozen times in its life, if that. So that's good. That just got put back together. I bought him this thing. What's it called? It goes in the BBC user port. It just allows you to add RMDC. Is that what it's called? I don't know. MMFS allows you to add an SD card. That is it's really cheap as well. Not very much money at all to get an SD card solution for a BBC. Was fantastic. I put a new battery in as well. Packaged it up. That's that card. And sent it back. That's random. That's my my Yeti mic that I'm talking to you. My Yeti mic hangs off a microphone boom arm above my desk, and it has this 3D printed bracket with a shock mount, and it snapped on me when I was sitting here and I caught it. Reactions of a mongoose. So I had to print one. The one that's on there now is printed with PETG, so it's a bit stronger, and I beefed up the print design as well. And then just at the end of this month, actually, I think what month are we on? This is October. I think this is from next month. Oh no. Yeah, this is from December. This is a sneak preview. So is that. That's that was sent to me by. I will come to that. That's October. So let's try November. Let's get this done. We're nearly there now because December is nearly the end as well. That's how months work. So as a thank you for sorting out his BBC, Keith bought me this iFixit kit. Just because he's a lovely guy. Thank you, Keith. This is the Oric one again. I replaced that chip and I replaced that chip. Didn't work. I replaced that chip. Didn't work. I think the problem with it is the problem might be where those sockets were installed. I think there might be some damage underneath there. I'm going to have to remove all those sockets and have a look, and any other work that was done just to rule it out. But I don't know enough about them, so I'm kind of guessing. Something else that Paul Universal Retro Boss gave me when I was at his place dropping off the pinball machine. He had this screen sitting amongst these collections. Doesn't want them. No, they're of no use to him, so gave it to me. And it's an Amstrad CPC monitor, but this one's the green version. He's got the color version waiting for me as well. That's come up in a recent little lot that he's got. But yeah, this one arrived with this plug on. Let's get rid of that. Which it's looking a bit old. It doesn't even have the. Normally they have like plastic insulation halfway up the pin so that you can't touch the pin as you're pulling it out of the socket. Perma plug. It's not that permanent. Yeah, it had this interestingly coloured fuse in it. that might not work. I reckon there's some resistance across here somewhere. So yeah, that went in the bin. Put a new plug on it, plugged it in, worked a treat. Perfect. No problem at all. I even powered the Amstrad off of the because the Amstrad is powered from the monitor. And I tried that and it worked. No problem. Let's go back. Where are we? Yep, this is now my life where Paul sends me boxes full of these amazing computers and I get to fix them. I couldn't be happier with that. It's amazing. Normally, before Paul, I'd have to go and buy things untested on eBay to fix, and very often they didn't need fixing. It's very frustrating if what you want to do is fix things. Taz, thank you very much for that. If you're watching this, that's very, very kind of you. I got a few things at Christmas from people. Lots of lovely people sent me things. What is that? Do we know? Oh, that's the C64 that was broken for 40 years, or faulty for 40 years one. Quite proud of that. Oh, no, I've never heard of that guy. I've got to put that up. I still got to put my calendar up. I'm terrible. I'll put my calendar up in January, and I'll probably turn it over to the right month by August. I'm so bad with calendars. I'm always the same. I'm surprised that the last RMC calendar is not on the wall with like September or even earlier months still on it. So yeah, look, a workbench clear up before and it's kind of after. This is the state it's usually in before I start something. So I've got the tools that I need around me. If I'm working on Commodore 64, the 64 power supply will be there. Soldering iron is always on my right. And yeah, there's still the broomstick camera mount. And we're at the end of November. So is that November? Yeah, no, it's November. Let's go to December. And there we go. More fixing going on. This is the test harness that Lee Smith sent me. Lovely Lee. And then, in the bundle, the last bundle that Paul Universal Retro Boss sent me was an Amiga 500 Plus. And I judged this to be not worthy of fixing. Because Paul is buying and selling things, they need to be economically viable to fix. If I've got to put 3 weeks of work into something to fix it, it's not worth it. For the things to be worth it for him, I need to be able to turn it over in a couple of days, roughly, and it not to be something that needs all of its custom chips replaced. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. And it's I'd like to fix everything, but there's only so many days, and there's only so many hours in each day. So you have to pick your battles. But this one is now mine, and I will try to fix it. There are various opinions, as there always are, on the internet as to whether it's actually going to be fixable, which ranged from no to yeah. And all the ones in between. But yeah, Vata. But what worries me about this Amiga is this. I mean, it doesn't worry me. The socket doesn't worry me. The chip worries me. I don't want the chip to have been damaged. And it's quite. I mean, most of those pins there are green. Most of these ones are green. So this corner copped quite a lot of damage. That socket is gonna be toast. That will have to come out. That's not a problem. I'm confident I can do that without killing it. The Gary chip, it could be a problem, but that shouldn't be too difficult to replace. But yeah, that'll. I mean, an i500 plus for my collection is going to be a big plus. If I can't fix it, I will buy one of the replacement, the newly made motherboards. Can't remember what it's called. It's got a name. Often comes in purple. Neil made one on RMC a while back, and yeah, I'll do that and make it again. But yeah, yeah, there's stuff I'm fixing things all the time. A lovely gift from Munsey Mark, a chip lifter. Everybody kept banging on about me and my screwdriver and tweezers. My tweezers are amazing at lifting the 8-legged deal chips, like memory. They're still amazing for that. This though is working out very, very well. And another gift from Sam, Flibble Sam, a Christmas gift. Thank you for all you've done. Hope you get some use out of this, from Flibble Sam. What did Mark say? Merry Christmas, and may this help your chip pulling in 2023, from Munsey Mark. Thank you. And this came from Mike DX. This is to complete the C64 test harness. He had some spare sitting around. And look, Mike DX and family, to Lee, a gift from Mike DX and family to Lee. Merry Christmas to you and the family, and thank you for the amazing job you did with the Game Gears, from Mike DX and family. What a lovely thing to do. You'll see the blue mat getting used. I tend to not use it too much in videos because the blue is just hurts my eyes. It's too blue. I quite like the wooden backdrop on my videos, but when I'm not working on things, I'll be using it all the time. And earlier in the year I bought this Gotek secondhand, untested, and it was broken. And this is one of the things that wasn't so much fun to receive broken, because it's not something I'm very confident at fixing. I'll have a pop at it, but I bought that. But I recently bought another one, and that ARM chip is so much smaller than that ARM chip. I thought that I might have something I could compare values with. I mean, there's still quite a few things that I can check. There's a lot of these passives and this chip here that I can check. And I suppose there's probably quite a lot of these connections are similar. Not all of these are going to be connected, and all of these are. So yeah, I might be able to use that. But yeah, that That's a new GoTech. I'm yet to plug that in. Right, so the purpose of these two photos here, this is the new lighting. And this is old lighting. And you can see quite a lot of glare and horrible mess. But this is a new flatter lighting. It's a lot nicer to film under. There's no shine on anything, or less shine on anything. Go back. So these are my new lights. You can see my array of clutch. I put one up, and then I put another one up, and then I built another bit of, just threw some bits together. It doesn't look good, and it had all wires going up the wall to each one of them. It was a mess. So I got some proper lights. One of them I've mounted on a microphone boom arm. I might change that. I might hang them both off of the ceiling on each side, so there's less on the floor in the way, especially if I'm going to build another desk over here. But yeah, does work a lot better. Go back. And now we come, oh no we don't, yeah, this is just more work in progress. So the new camera went on the same arm as the phone used to live on, and I kind of film to my left shoulder, and it's very easy to block what I'm filming. Top down is much better, but I now have two cameras on the go. So I have one here, or top down, and I have another one off to the side filming just for cutaway shots, just to break things up. Nice wide angle shot of the workshop, and what a state it's in there. Look, wow. There's a lot going on there. Okay, you can freeze frame that and have a look around. Old workbench, new workbench. I'm not sure why I'm showing this one, or why I took a picture. Oh, I tidied under the old workbench as well. Now, a view from the other end. This is where I'm sitting right now. I mean, that is not always there. Two of my guitars have gone. They've been sold to pay for some of the lighting and other things. I'm not rolling around in money. I put quite a lot of my disposable income into this already, and so other things had to go. There's one guitar left, but that's up for sale. And another shot of the workbench being used. And my new ultrasonic cleaner. Sorry about that. Oh, spoilers for an upcoming episode. And we started, well, we didn't start, but we had 700 to start with, where we got to 1,111, and very recently I got 2,222. And I got my new ultrasonic cleaner. This is the new Crispageddon, this year's Crispageddon bribe, because I binged over December on all the bad food. So I got myself a massive ultrasonic cleaner that can take a Commodore 64 motherboard comfortably. It's a bit of a pain to fill, but it works really well. I got these for my birthday. Engineer crimps I've been after for ages. And that is 2022. I've got a bonus month for you. This is January so far. Just wanted to show you a couple of things on this. So the workbench is still a state. January 1st. Now I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh yeah, they're the two guitars I sold for the purpose of buying lighting and bits and pieces. Second channel, It's got a few more subscribers than that, which is what you're watching this on. Yeah, that's probably not much point in me saying this at the end of this video because it's so long. But I will. I'll be putting all of these rambling things that I didn't dare put on the main channel one. I don't want to live stream too often. I will live stream, and this could have made a decent live stream, but I get called away and I have to stop and start so much. Live streaming is quite difficult for me because of personal reasons. But yeah, here we go. I decided to make. I was fed up with the broomstick in the vise. It was too wobbly, so I thought I would make something that still in the vise, but had would lean against the wall. So that doorstop actually is on the other end of this, and it's kind of, once it's in the vise, this is pushed against the wall. So it's all fairly solid, but it still was a bit wobbly. So that lasted for a little while. I also got from birthday and Christmas money a field monitor so that I can see when a shot is in focus. Much easier than the screen on the camera, and that's it's been a revelation. That has Lost Retro Tapes put me onto that, and that's fantastic. That didn't stay up there. That's actually down above the oscilloscope now. This is some of the lighting that I bought with my guitar money. There's like fill-in lights if I need them. I've actually got one bouncing off the wall in front of me now. And they come with these stands. There's a little stand. Unextended and then extended. They were really reasonable. About 45 quid for two of them. But that in the vise, I kept still nudging it with my shoulder, and that would still rock the camera. So instead of having it coming up from the vise, I built it into the ceiling, so it comes down off the ceiling and is actually screwed to the wall there and screwed to the ceiling up there. So this isn't actually attached to anything. I can't knock it on the desk. So yeah, that's going to make things a lot nicer and easier. It's a lot higher as well now, which isn't a big problem because the camera can zoom right down. Gives me room for the microscope as well. The field monitor sits there above the oscilloscope, and that seems to work really nicely. There's another view of it. And that is where we are now. That is fixed. That was a good fix, that was. That's my new multimeter that you've just seen, and that's no longer dead, Dave. But that's it. Thank you for watching. I can't believe anyone would. It's probably what, 3 hours of this now. I'll try and get this edited up, and release it on the second channel, and let's carry on, do these amazing things a bit more. I've loved 2022. It's been an interesting year in some ways, on a personal level, but in terms of what's going on in the retro scene, I don't fail to be amazed day after day after day by people's generosity and passion for this crazy pastime. It's fun. I'm having fun. I hope you are. If you're not, go outside and do outside things. I don't know what those are. Not anymore. Right, thank you. I will see you. We've got coming up. Episode 3 of the Spectrum repair series, the Enduro repair series, and the Amstrad 464 Plus should be coming soon. And then there's another 2 episodes to these Enduro repair. There was 5 in total. And then we've got a bunch of Commodore. I think there are 4 Commodore 64s, a VIC-20 and a C16 or +4. All broken. Cool. Bye. Sound sync. Click, click. I don't know. That can't see me, so I don't know why I'm doing that. Okay. Right, so I'm looking at the lens. Glasses are on. And I will be looking down here and scrolling away. How does that look? Try and keep my head up. Yeah, try and keep my head up. You're all lovely people. And that should do for a test. Good luck, everybody. Hello. And that's rubbish. Because I don't even know what I'm going to say. And look, I look like I'm hiding behind this. Hello.